Hello everybody! Welcome to the second part of our collab with Mr. Sotek over here. We're currently muted over on the Discord, and just to give you guys a little bit of an introduction here. So basically what happened was we had figured out that apparently by using a particular VPN, things worked out so much better. Like the amount of lag input there was last time versus now is like nigh gone. Hopefully it works out much better this time. But yeah, we're still gonna be playing the same old Occidental and Tenuan campaign, and we're gonna see how that goes. So let me check over on the Discord. Oh yes, I've also changed my model to be a little closer to what I usually use. Alrighty.
How you doing, good sir?
I am doing a-okay, and things are moving much better.
My chat is raking me over the coals right now because of last night.
Ah, the mist stream, yeah.
I'm gonna rename my Saurus to be lore accurate.
Lore accurate Saurus, what is that going to be?
So instead of him just being some random guy called Melvaker, that's a terrible lizardman name. I'm gonna change him to being Lodal the Deliverer, who in older editions was known as Lodal Bodal.
Lodal Bodal, of course, the lizardman and the ridiculous names.
Yeah, Lodal the Deliverer of the Ruby Sanctum.
Damn, that's actually kind of intense.
Yeah, he was the only survivor at the Ruby Sanctum and killed so many Skaven that when Tenuan showed up with reinforcements, all they found was Lodal standing on top of a mound of rat corpses.
That is
and
Tenuan
was like,
really
you should be
cool.
one of my lieutenants. And Lodal was like, all right, cool.
Alright, bet, yeah. I'll join you, man. That's awesome. Okay. Well, on my side, I have to go through my own battles, which unfortunately I can't auto-resolve if you're ready for that. It's the same old, same old.
All right, time to kill some demons.
Roger.
So, for anyone watching, if you caught us last week, obviously we ran into some issues of trying to play Total War across the entire globe. But thanks to the genius professor here, between his scientific genius and my translations of sacred plaques, we stumbled upon some ancient old one tech that allows the stream to run much better.
Dang. I feel like Sotek over here is way more into like the VTuber lore than actual VTubers over here. We even have some RPing going on. Hell yeah.
To be fair, I think I've technically been doing this longer than they've existed as a concept, with very few exceptions.
Dang. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, we basically deciphered some ancient text, and apparently it said use VPN. We had to run it through some translation programs to figure out what a VPN was, but for whatever reason, it works out so much better. Hopefully.
Yeah. So like it's not perfect by any means, just because of the nature of Total War and the fact that CA are jerks and won't give us
dedicated server, please. I cry.
But, it is playable, so that's good.
At the very least. Well, it's not as much of an abomination as last time. And yeah. Honestly, this is mostly a podcast. If you came here for like epic gameplay, definitely not here.
Yeah, no. I don't think the Loremaster of Sotek brand has ever been associated with gameplay.
All right.
So a question from Queek, which I think we can both answer quite well, is what is your favorite Skaven clan?
Ooh, when it comes to Skaven clans,
I'll let you go
first. I've only ever played Ikit and Throt. I mean, they're both mad scientists, so I feel like it's kind of my duty to play them.
Okay, so do you prefer body horror then, or mad scientist?
Ooh. To be honest, between the two, I would have to say Ikit, just because I really like his evil laugh a lot.
He does have a really good...
It is a good evil laugh. Yeah, I've never found myself like voicing a character as much as I did when I was like playing Ikit's campaign.
I think for me, it's Clan Pestilence. I love the disease clan. Lord Skrulk and all the diseases and stuff. Plus, they're so fanatical. There's something so fun about an entire cult of like super hardcore religious rats that just tickles me. I don't know how else to describe it.
I mean, I can see that. I would say that I would never be able to, with a good conscience, like, say that Clan Pestilence is ever my favorite, just because my first experience ever of playing Total War was with Gorok, and Clan Pestilence was the most annoying little shit ever. Like, I hated their guts, and I wanted them dead, and they would never die. They just kept on running.
That's fair.
I'll target to you. Oh, I'm a big boy. Oh. These doggos ain't. Don't go for my lord, please.
It's okay. Oxiola's got his old man beat stick. He can handle him.
Oh yeah. We need to get the. Oh, what is his legendary weapon? Something Patui?
Oh yeah, the golden blowpipe of Patui. Yeah. Games Workshop tried really hard with that one.
I mean, yeah, we didn't even talk about the Oxiato lore last time at all. We were just kind of going into a lot of other stuff. Yikes.
Run towards the big dinosaur.
That's what I do be doing.
I miss the days when the Troglodon spit was like, so when the whatever DLC this was, the Hunter and the Beast DLC first came out, the Troglodon was super busted because the way they designed it was that when the Troglodon would shoot, the little skink on his back, the skink oracle, would also shoot out an attack from his little staff, so he was double shooting. So he did twice as much damage as he does now because he would shoot 2 times every volley. It was oh yeah, sorry, Silence of the Fury, thank you. It was so busted. Like, the damage was so ridiculous. And they fixed it, and I've been sad ever since.
Well, for the sake of balance, even though that word can't really be applied to Total War as a whole, to be honest. That I learned very quickly. Yeah. I do feel like the multiplayer is a lot more balanced, however. But yeah, when it comes to campaign,
yeah, it's the whole like concept of like asymmetric balance, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like nothing's technically even, but when you look at it from like a really zoomed out perspective, it all kind of evens out. And that's also, like, oh, Norse don't have cavalry, but they do have access to like XYZ or whatever.
Yeah. My chat sent super chat wanting to know who is Sotek's Warhammer waifu.
If I'm allowed to cheat, I always go with the twins, Nyastra and Arahan.
Oh, the elf twins?
Yeah, the Sisters of Twilight. Because I mean, you gotta. That being said, for those curious, I prefer Nyastra more than Arahan because Arahan is batshit crazy, and is kind of like terrifying, whereas Nyastra is like an absolute sweetheart. For me, it's always a close tie between Nyastra and Miao Yang. Miao Yang is also like fucking awesome. Though Miao Yang also kind of comes off as a total bitch, so.
I guess a little bit.
Some of that.
Yeah, I didn't know. I know so little about like the Cathay as well as the Wood Elves, but yeah, I just know people like hating on the elves.
I mean, I don't think it matters what universe you're in, like what setting. If there are elves, people will hate them.
Oh no. I mean, Peeps did like Legolas, kind of, maybe. Isn't he a fan favorite? I'm pretty sure.
When do I think the next Total War stuff is coming up that's not Skulls? I would say like probably 2 months.
Oh yeah, speaking of, I definitely have to check that out at some point. I'm not gonna be there for the live stream because that's like 7 a.m. my time.
Skulls?
But
Yeah,
yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, it's not gonna be a lot. It's last year. Last year we got Harry the Hammer, Harry the Hammer is a legendary hero you can get with the Warriors of Chaos.
Oh yeah. Isn't he like kind of like the reason why the whole thing is called Warhammer in the first place?
So he's not the reason why, but he's like he's the like first ever like Chaos Warrior that was depicted. So there was a really famous piece of artwork for like when Warhammer became Warhammer, and it's this Chaos Warrior with a hammer beating the shit out of a skeleton, and the community dubbed him, well, eventually he got some background and was known as Harold Hammerstorm, so the community started calling him Harry the Hammer. Oh, you got the Scape and Pelt banner? I love this Scape and Pelt banner.
Oh yeah. I'll take that.
Scion, thank you so much for the super chat. Playing Molder makes you really is your hopium that we'll get the Blood Naga one day? Yeah, Blood Naga would be super hype.
Blood Naga sounds epic.
Yeah, so they are a fairly unexplored race that live in the equivalent of like Southeast Asia, so like south of Grand Cathay. And the idea behind them is that we don't know a lot about them, but what we do know about them is that they're called the Naga, or sometimes they're called Snake Men, or you know, different variations on that title. And what we do know about them is that they're okay with worshiping chaos, but we also know that they are like a civilized force. Like, they're not just random chaos creatures. They're really powerful sorcerers, and they have like a bunch of technology, and they have the ability to create their own monsters. Because we actually have one of their monsters running around the Darklands, which is called the Dreadmaw, and it's basically a giant. Imagine like take like a snake and combine it with like the Mongolian death worm, and then make it way bigger, and that's a Dreadmaw.
Oh. Actually, yeah. I think you sent me an image on Discord last time we streamed.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, about a death maw. Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. I mean, it's southeast of Cathay, so it should be in the game at some point, maybe. Who knows?
God, I hope so. Wurzag's Morky Mischief says, "Don't tell Zero that I'm here." Okay.
Wurzag, get out of Sotek's chat. Stop it. That man's a wanderer.
I was just following orders.
The game doctor says you should ask Sotek about Nagash, especially if you don't already know. What should I not know about Nagash? I think I know some lore about the man. The man kind of...
That depends. How much do you know about Nagash?
He's very petty, from what I know, and the man has always taken L's.
That's also fair. I'm trying to think of like the the relatively what's the best way to describe him?
I think in AOS the man's become like a god of death, right?
Yeah, well, so kind of. And I actually really like his AOS lore because he claims he's the god of death, but he's actually, and he is, but not in the way that the other gods are gods, because there were a whole bunch of death gods. Because in Age of Sigmar, the concept in the realm of death, because each of the winds of magic has like its own realm. And the idea behind the realms, the realm of Shaiish, or the realm of death in particular, is that it has a whole bunch. It's instead of being like one unified realm, it is instead a okay. Let's do this. If you will take real quick. Let's figure out our battle strategy.
Yeah, we want to do the same thing that we usually do.
Yeah, so if you take the two regular skinks and put them like here, And then when the battle starts...
Oh, okay.
You see over here?
Yeah.
And then when the battle starts, send them over this way to climb those walls and to get behind the Skaven. And then with the chameleon skinks, put them in the usual place way over here and have them go in to go get the leadership buff spot. That looks like a little horn.
Yeah, at this point we play this battle so many times.
Yeah. Which, oh, by the way, for anyone that wants a hilarious note, is the first time we tried this with the VPN, we got a unique bug that I did digging into like everyone who's used this method, and they had never seen the bug that we got.
Yeah.
It was very impressive.
That's streamer unlock. You know, I like to say. Yeah, we're good.
But anyway, so Realm of Shyish, instead of being just kind of a regular realm that's sort of like a flat disc or a stacking of different tiers or a globe or whatever, the Realm of Death is instead this massive disc that's made up of underworlds. Because the idea behind it is that every single concept of an afterlife that is genuinely believed in by people of the mortal realms, which is what the Age of Sigmar universe is called, their underworld will manifest into existence. And the more people that believe in that underworld, the bigger and more powerful it becomes. But if they believe that, like, when they die, they're gonna go to like an isekai type situation, then that realm will manifest and obey by those rules. If they believe they're going to go to like if they believe in like a heaven and a hell, and depending on what they do in life, they get sent to one place or the other based on their actions, then both of those realms will manifest and they'll be sent to the place they believe they're supposed to go. So it's kind of a realm of almost wish fulfillment in a sense, but it comes with the good and the bad aspects of that.
Okay.
Now, what Nagash did is that Nagash was not originally a god of death. He was very strong, but when the realms formed, he already was basically imprisoned because he was stuck underneath this like giant mountain of like obsidian or something. And Sigmar finds him, and Sigmar busts him out because Sigmar wants his... It's a very long story, but Sigmar basically sees the potential in having Nagash as an ally as opposed to an enemy, in that the realms of death were kind of a mess, and while there were all these great underworlds, some of the underworlds were very aggressive and were moving out to conquer their neighboring underworlds because they had borders. And Sigmar wanted to have influence and control on certain aspects of the realm of death, but the death gods did not like him, and there were also certain places he couldn't get to, and yada yada yada. So he ends up freeing Nagash. He thinks about it for a while. He doesn't just do it immediately. He has like a long consideration on it, but eventually he comes to the decision that he should free Nagash. So he does, and when Nagash freaks out, Nagash is like, all right, you know, meeting your mortal enemy for the first time in like a while.
I can imagine how he'd be feeling like.
And Sigmar and him kind of have a bit of a chat, and Nagash goes, all right, tell you what, since you let me out, I will help you out, and we'll clean slate, we'll start over. And Sigmar's like, okay, cool, that's what I was hoping for. So after that, Nagash ends up helping Sigmar to take down a lot of these like horrifying big bad monsters that were dominant in the underworlds and stuff. And then Nagash starts doing Nagash stuff, which is to say that the problem with Nagash is that he looks around at the realm of death and sees like all these other death gods, all this really messy stuff, and he's like, I hate this, because Nagash just hates anything that isn't him, essentially. He hates free will, he hates concepts of like individuality, because he just finds it noisy and it gets in the way of things he wants to do, and yada yada yada. So Nagash goes around and starts killing and devouring all of the death gods. So he basically invades an underworld, uses his necromancy to start taking control and shaping that underworld to his will, and he tracks down that underworld's god, kills them, and eats them to make himself more powerful. And he does that hundreds of times, and he basically takes over the realm of death by force, with the exception being realms that were either particularly powerful or realms that were really, really, really good at hiding. For instance, Nagash can't actually get into the underworld of the Dwarden, or the dwarfs. He can't get in because the defenses, A, it's very well hidden, and B, the defenses that are on it, he can't crack them. Because they were very cleverly designed to resist him in particular, so he just can't get in.
Gotcha.
Which makes him very upsetty spaghetti all the time. But that being said, in fantasy, Nagash was single-handedly responsible for creating all of the undead that we know in the old world. There are undead that are not necessarily in the old world that have nothing to do with Nagash, but like the Tomb Kings, the Vampire Counts, and the Vampire Coast are all a direct result of Nagash and his BS.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And he's known as the Great Necromancer because he's credited with inventing modern necromancy. Though if you get really technical about it, like, he did invent it, but like he didn't invent all of it. He just invented kind of like the version of it that we have. Because necromancy existed before Nagash, but it was very different back then.
Like, different in what way? Because I know that for Cetra's people and stuff, they have some sort of like death magic, or Nagash was sent off to learn about death or something like that. It's because of their culture, I believe. So
Nagash was in charge of what's called the mortuary cult. And the mortuary cult was that Cetra, I mean, Cetra was the worst, right? Cetra was terrible. Cetra believed he was a genuine god. And the fact that he was gonna die because he was mortal made him really upset. So Cetra basically just founded a religion, and the whole point of the religion was to find a way to cheat death so that Cetra could be a god and could be immortal.
Sounds about right for an Egyptian pharaoh, yeah.
Oh yeah, he was, and he like completely co-opted all of the other religions and was like, no, the new religion is find a way to make me a golden, immortal, godlike body and bring me back.
Okay,
so that
gotcha.
I can take over everything. And so, the mortuary cult spent many hundreds of years trying to discover the secrets of immortality, and to their credit, they did figure it out. The problem was that they figured out the crap version of immortality. So they figured out how to make it where you... So, immortality, but not eternal youth.
So you were like an undead, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the Lich Priests of the Tomb Kings, like Grand Hierophant Kotep and all of their wizard characters, they're not actually undead. They're still alive. It's just that they are immortal, but they do not have immortal youth. Or eternal youth.
Okay. Okay,
the game volume is too loud? Okay.
It kind of sucks, yeah.
Let me know. Yeah, so when Cetra came, or when Nagash was around, Nagash looked at everything Cetra was doing and said, okay, cool, how about no? And I'm going to make myself the, like, immortal god of this world instead of doing whatever the hell Cetra wants.
Okay. Well, and that is kind of Cetra's fault then. At that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nagash is a direct descendant of Cetra. Like it goes all the way up, you know.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, he was definitely fulfilling the family motto. But yeah, Nagash basically took a bunch of different forms of magic and bastardized them all together to create a new form that was significantly more powerful. Which is modern day necromancy, also known kind of often as the lore of undeath, which the crappier version of that is the lore of vampires, which is what like vampire counts use, because their lore is not Nagash's perfected lore. It's instead like thousands of years of a bunch of different necromancers scrapping together what little bits of Nagash's knowledge they can find, and then adding their own little bits and pieces to it. And being like, look, necromancy, even though So, like, imagine if you had a perfect recipe for creating cakes, and then you died, and someone found your cakes, but they only found, like, a single sentence or a couple of sentences from your recipe, and they're like, all right, I'm gonna make this cake. But all they have are, like, 3 sentences. So they have to figure out all of the ingredients and the cook times and all of that other stuff through, like, trial and error and scouring the world for the rest of your recipe. And that's basically what necromancers and vampires are up to a lot of the time.
Oh, okay. I suppose that does make sense. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like how the Lizardmen are interpreting the Old One's plan as well, yeah. It's not like a perfect interpretation. Sometimes it's just kind of making stuff up a little bit.
No idea what they're doing.
No, not my Lizardmen.
I love the Lizardmen.
But they're trying so hard.
I think me and Andy did when we did the Lorebeards episode, I think on Tehinuin, we had a chat about that, and I think I think what Andy said was that we agreed on was something along the lines of what the Lizardmen are trying to do is, like, imagine if you were in charge of, like, a nuclear fusion facility to, like, make energy for your country and, like, the world and stuff so that everyone can survive and eat and everything. And then, like, imagine if all of the adults who ran the entire facility just vanished instantly and left behind some instruction manuals that were written from a very scientific perspective. So, like, you know, using really high terms that you have to be super educated for and everything to really understand. Yeah. And then you have nothing left but children, none of whom ever saw any of the adults trying to figure out how to fix it.
The Lizardmen are just kids who don't know what they're doing. That's so sad.
There's a good reason they're kind of like official in-universe title is the Children of the Old Ones. It's because that's literally what they are.
No. Oh man. Well, I guess this is what happens when you give children too much strength and power in dinosaurs.
When the children are the dinosaurs? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit.
So it's not their fault. The old one should have thought that through.
I mean, I feel like the old one should have known everything. They kind of created it, didn't they? But nah, I guess chaos.
And arguably, they did know everything, and this is what they wanted to happen, which opens up concerning questions about the old ones.
They wanted war?
So, it's according to some newer lore we got with the Return of Warhammer Fantasy, the lore states that the old ones knew the end times was going to happen. And so they were basically trying to make the version of the end times they wanted to happen. Which opens up a lot of really concerning questions about the old ones. But if you view it from the lens of the old one's ultimate goal is to kill the Chaos Gods and to destroy chaos, then it could very well be that this is the only way. Like, all of these things have to happen. And granted, like, the old ones don't know all the specifics, and prophecy in Warhammer is actually, like, I love prophecy in Warhammer because it's really well documented how it works, and the gimmick is that it doesn't. Like, you can figure out kind of the very broad strokes using prophecy, but like, the thing is that every faction in the Warhammer world is aware that prophecy can work and, like, is a concept. And so everyone basically tries to rules lawyer to deal with prophecies, because, like, if a prophecy says something like, on the 3rd day, a man with a scar on his left cheek will show up from the east and do this thing, then everyone who wants that prophecy to happen will be like, okay, we have to make absolutely sure that someone with a scar on his left cheek shows up from the eastern direction at this precise time so that this prophecy happens. And all of the bad guys will say, okay, we need to make sure that anyone that has a scar on their left cheek dies, or that we flood the eastern approach so that it's impossible to cross, so that he has to come from the west. Because if he comes from a different direction, well, then the prophecy's not going to happen, because the prophecy didn't line up.
Yeah. I see. So, I mean, even just knowing the prophecy in and of itself is kind of makes it invalid. It voids the warranty on that one.
Yeah, but then you have like Tzeentch, who Tzeentch's whole gimmick and many of the greater demons of Tzeentch is that they create prophecies and basically try to manipulate events to make them come true.
Oh, okay, so that's how Tzeentch's power works. I never looked at it like that. I've always assumed that he kind of just like fucked around with things.
Yeah, they also could create a prophecy that they know is wrong, but by creating the prophecy, they're predicting how people are going to try and stop it, and that's what they're trying to manipulate to get to their desired goal. So, like, there's a whole game of, like, 5D chess going on the entire time.
Of course, 5D, 10-dimensional chess at all times.
Absolutely, yep.
In every universe. Gotcha. Right, the game doctor asks, remember to blame Malekith and his dummy mommy Marathi for Nagash? Well, how are they connected to Nagash? The Dark Elves?
So the Dark Elves were the ones that, the best way to say it is that in order to create necromancy as we understand it now, Nagash captured a group of Dark Elves that had at least one sorceress among them, and he interrogated them and tortured them and a bunch of other stuff. And from them, he learned the basic necessities that allowed him to create necromancy. Because from them, he learned dark magic.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I even saw that in like one of the trailers too for Warhammer, where they had a DLC where there was like the Cetra and the Tomb Kings coming out, and there was like Dark Elves raiding their tombs.
Oh, well,
that, just kind of there.
That was just Dark Elves being greedy little shits. Yeah, but if it hadn't been for the fact that the Dark Elves practiced, and the Dark Elves also practiced the old version of necromancy, which old necromancy was just using dark magic to basically control and manipulate people's spirits. Which is why if you go to certain Dark Elf cities, I want to say it's Klar Karand, but it might be Karan Kar. But one of the Dark Elf cities, the people that control it, the various dreadlords, one of the ways that they make themselves look very intimidating and powerful is that they torture people, and once they're done with them, instead of just letting them die, they instead use necromancy to rip their souls out, and then they like basically chain their souls to the tops of their towers, so their souls are just screaming and wailing around the tops of the towers for however long they manage to hang in there before they either peter out or somebody gets tired of them and destroys them, or maybe they're just up there for eternity. Who can say?
I love that. What nice people.
Oh yeah, Dark Elves are great.
Oh man.
So Nagash met them and he learned their version of necromancy, and he combined it with the Lich Priest version of necromancy, which was the lore of Nehekara. And he's like, if I take like this chocolate and this peanut butter and I combine them, I can make something even better. And he did. And he almost took over the world by literally resurrecting all of the dead on an entire continent to create an army that would just destroy everything. And then the Skaven got him killed because Skaven are goofy and they saved the world for some reason.
Oh man. Oh, I actually like didn't know I'd relate to Skaven that much. There's a running theme on the channel that whenever I try to be evil, I end up accidentally doing the good thing in the game. For some reason, I'm just that bad at being bad. So, yeah. I mean, I'm glad that the Skaven are like that. It makes them great characters. Villains that end up saving the world somehow. But also destroying it in the end times. When they actually get their shit together.
They're very good at saving the world. Only because it's either A, they get jealous of whoever it is that's potentially going to end the world, and so they will backstab them in an attempt to get rid of a rival, or B, on a very rare occasions, they have the genius realization that if the world dies, they do too.
Wait a minute. Something smells fishy here.
Yeah, that was literally the whole thing with the Nagash incident, was that the Skaven were like, wait, if he kills everyone and he thinks we're annoying, he's also gonna kill us.
They were in the middle of like letting him cook, but then they realized, wait, if he cooks, we're done for.
Oh yeah, they were allies with him. They provided him with like a ton of warpstone.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh yeah, that's right. Didn't Nagash's crown or whatever have a bunch of warpstone on it? And he got it from one of the Skaven cities or something?
Oh no. Nagash ate warpstone.
Oh, he just whoa.
Yeah, he ate
I see.
tons of it. Which is why he's like a horrifying, 12-foot tall skeleton thing.
Oh my god.
His body, he used to have just a normal human body, but he has mutated grotesquely into the big skeleton guy that we all know and love.
I see. So that's why. Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the crown that has a bunch of warpstone in it is the Nemesis crown, which is something they just added to the game.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And that was created created by a dwarf.
Maybe I got my lore mixed up there.
Good old Alaric the Mad.
Alaric the Mad. Well, using warpstone. I mean, I feel like warpstone could have a lot of potential, seeing how Ikit Claw is able to use it, but like, it's so destructive as well and corrupting.
That does tend to be the problem. Though there was a dwarf way back during the Age of Vengeance who figured out how to make purified warpstone, but a greater demon of Tzeentch ended up killing him so that he wouldn't be able to pass that knowledge on.
Alright, here's the stupid fight that we could definitely auto-resolve, but it won't let me.
Oh, good.
Oh, man. Also, when you talk about the refined warpstone created during what was that age? Because there's a lot of history that happened before like current times. Yeah,
or the War of the Beard. That was the war between the dwarves and the elves.
Okay. I think the whole gist there was some sort of misunderstanding, right, going on?
Well, that's one way to put it. So the TLDR was that the dwarves and the elves were relatively good allies. Like the initial bromance between Malekith before he became the Witch King, Malekith and Snorri Whitebeard, who was the first High King of the Dwarfs, their bromance was like legendary.
Really?
Like Snorri was almost more like an adoptive dad to Malekith. And the two of them were like extremely close. And many years later, after Malekith went through the whole sundering thing and his body got all burnt up and he got put into his suit and everything, the Malekith was cooking up a way to attack the Ulthuan and to successfully take it for himself. And the idea that he came up with is that he could manipulate the dwarfs because of how well he understood them, and he knew that the Phoenix King at the time, who was Kalidor II, was an absolute just idiot. Kalidor II was the worst Phoenix King that ever lived.
Dang.
He was a very skilled fighter, but everybody in retrospect hates him. Like he was terrible. He was super duper arrogant, and he was only Phoenix King because of nepotism. His father, Kalidor I, was an awesome Phoenix King. He was the Phoenix King that defeated Malekith for the first time. And everybody was so scared about all the stuff going on with Malekith, and had loved Kalidor I so much that they basically came to the decision of, well, his dad was a really good king, so he must should also be a really good king, right? Yeah,
that's not how that works. Oh, God.
No, and he was trash. So Malekith manipulated events where the dwarves did not know the Dark Elves were a thing, like they didn't know Dark Elves existed, because the elves didn't want to tell them about that. That was just embarrassing.
Oh, so okay.
Because you don't want to go to the dwarves to who the concept of kinslaying is like the greatest sin conceivable. Like there's no circumstance where you should ever turn to kinslaying as an idea. And you don't want to go to them and be like, yeah, we just had like a massive civil war where mothers were killing daughters and fathers were killing sons and brothers were killing sisters and yada yada yada.
Yeah, okay.
Not a good look. Especially when, you know, both races are fairly arrogant in their own rights, and things were kind of tense between them already due to, you know, just like them wanting to be superior compared to each other, and they didn't get along on everything. But anyway, so Malekith sent a group of dark elves who dressed up like high elves. So they killed some high elves and took all their stuff, and they dressed up like high elves, and they started attacking dwarven caravans and murdering the dwarves and stealing their stuff and making sure to leave like lots of evidence, like high elven arrows and all this stuff. And so with that, the dwarves were like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? Some of the dwarves wanted war immediately, but the High King at the time, who was Gotrek Starbreaker, was like, no, something weird's going on here. This doesn't make any sense. So let's send like a group of envoys or some ambassadors to Ulthuan to ask the High King, like, hey, you need to get your people under control, and you also need to pay us reparations and apologize for allowing this to happen. But once again, Kalador II, just shit tier king. Just the worst. Absolute worst king. Because Kalador II, when the dwarves showed up and told him what happened, and they were like, hey, like, you know, if you can pay reparations and do all this other stuff, which is fairly, like, just
that's fairly
not
tame,
a big deal. Kalador II was like, okay, how about instead I basically call you a bunch of cave-dwelling monkeys and I have you captured. We're going to shave all of your beards and we're not going to pay you anything, and we're going to kick you out and send you back home.
Oh my god. How can you be that bad at diplomacy? What the heck?
Yeah, he like I said, worst king. So that happened, and the dwarves had, you know, the response you would expect from the dwarves.
Well, yeah, rightfully so. I mean, shaving off their beards is like a really massive thing for the dwarves, yeah?
Yeah, it just spiraled from there, because then when the elves showed up and the dwarves started attacking the colonies that were there in the old world, and then the elves started coming over from Ulthuan to defend the colonies, and it got ugly. Like, it was an ugly war that lasted for hundreds of years. And High King Gotrek Starbreaker would later finish the war by killing Kalador II in single combat.
Oh, thank goodness.
But not before just, like, all the war crimes were committed by both sides. And, like, it was bad. Like, High King Gotrek Starbreaker, his son was killed by Kalador II. And yeah, so it was just bad. It was bad. And all of it happened because of Malekith. When Malekith set up the whole push everything into motion, because he knew how everyone was going to behave, and he waited for the elves to be like so committed to winning the war and being like, oh, these dwarves are actually really difficult to deal with. So he waited for Kalador, once again, worst Phoenix King, to get so irritated that the dwarves were taking too long to kill that he would take all of Ulthuan's armies with him and go attack the dwarves. And the second he left, Malekith invaded Ulthuan. And there was basically nobody there to stop him. It took a long time to kick him off the continent.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
That was probably Malekith's most successful invasion, in my opinion.
Ever since then, he's never been able to do anything like that. Dang.
Yeah, I mean, he got pretty close during the Great War, which was about 200 years ago. But that's when he went up against Tyrion and Teclis, and that did not go well for him.
Oh, well, of course. If you're going up against a duo who are supposed to be, like, the best, like, melee fighter as well as the best sorcerer, I believe, then, yeah.
That being said, Teclis only beat Malekith because he literally had a god backing him up.
Oh, well, I guess that's even more reason. The last old one asks, can you ask Sotek what he thinks about the other 3 brothers of Tamarkan? I didn't know he had brothers. And if he were in the author's seat, what would he do and add to the other 3 Chaos Gods?
I don't know, man. So Tamarkan was supposed to be a series. It was the first of 4 books, and each book was supposed to cover a different brother. And there was one for each dark god. So there was a Nurgle brother, a Tzeentch brother, a Khorne brother, and a Slaanesh brother. And unfortunately, the author, Alan Bligh, he made the first book, and then Games Workshop, at that exact moment, because we live in the worst timeline, decided to pull the plug on Warhammer Fantasy and go forward with the end times. So they canceled everything that Alan was creating.
Just bad timing. Okay.
Yeah. And then to make matters worse, I want to say during the COVID crisis, or maybe right before then, Alan Bligh passed away. So we don't know what his plans were. At least not publicly. There are probably a good number of private individuals that know what his plans were, and I have spoken to some individuals who are, we could safely call them GW insiders, who are well aware of that games, according to them, which take it with a grain of salt, but according to them, GW does have like essentially a lot of the rough sketches and ideas for the entirety of the Tamarkan series, or the Throne of Chaos series is a more accurate description, tucked away in like somewhere within their offices on a PC or a drive somewhere. But I doubt Games Workshop would ever release them publicly, because I just can't, because all that would do is get people to be like, do it. Games Workshop is going to be like, no.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We don't want to do that. But that being said, it is very, very highly believed. If you go to Google and you look up, I think it's Vorgarath the Scarred, or you could just Google Khorne Chaos Dragon. It's a giant mini. Tamarkan is a giant mini himself. Like, Tamarkan is absolutely massive. And there was a Khorne mini, which is this really heavily mutated Khorne dude who's on top of a giant fucking Khornite Chaos Dragon. And it's highly believed that he was Tamarkan's brother, and that was the next book in the series. Because Vorgarath the Scarred was one of several miniatures made by Forge World, who were publishing the series, that just kind of got randomly released kind of around and just after the end times, because they had already made the model and the sculpt and everything, so they wanted to try and get some of their returns on it. So they went ahead and released it, and we're like, all right, here you go. If you want to get it, cool.
Greetings on behalf of the Empire. Now, what brings
unfortunately, that's all we really got to see from that particular incident. But I do believe that is Tamarkan's Khornate brother, as much as I find it a little disappointing, because the Chaos Dragon, it's a very pretty model. It's gorgeous to look at. But I was hoping that the Khornate monster would, for the brother, would be a little more interesting than just a dragon. Because I was like, we already have tons of dragons. You know, like Tamarkan's mount is so cool. The Toad Dragon, which isn't really a dragon, it's just called that. But you know, it's like, oh, it's a giant frog monster. Like, that's cool. Like for Khorne, like I would have loved to see if his giant monster mount had been like a giant scorpion, or a giant like hound, or something like that, instead of just kind of a dragon. So we've got so many damn dragons. Like I think a scorpion would have probably been the most interesting thing. Because Khorne does have association with scorpions, especially in 40k, because there was a giant Forge World model that called the Brass Scorpion you could buy back in the day. I don't think Forge World publishes it anymore. But it's like a giant scorpion mecha. But
it's kind of something like what the Tomb Kings currently have.
Yeah, but like way bigger, like so much bigger.
Yeah, 40k size bigger. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. But that being said, I'm pretty sure Vorgarath is the Khorne character, which is fine. Like, that's cool. You can work with that. And then when it comes to Tzeentch and Slaanesh, I don't know. Those are kind of those things where I'd want to sit down and do a lot of research into like potential avenues that I could go. as far as like what kind of stories do you want to tell, and like what kind of creatures are really well associated with those gods that you could really delve into and explore. And like I think for Tzeentch, like, you know, we have the bird theming everywhere, but Tzeentch also can be I don't know, it would just depend. I think if I were doing the Tzeentch character, I would probably not go as heavy into like, oh, he's a big wizard, and would probably lean a little more into more of a combat centric character, just to make him a little different from a lot of the Tzeentch characters we've gotten before, where they're always like super hardcore wizard boys.
Yeah, add a little variety to the different chaos gods and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing. Also, like, when did they make the shift to Tzeentch being more like a bird thing? Or has that always just been his depiction?
Tzeentch has been heavily associated with birds for a really long time, at least since 3rd edition Warhammer Fantasy, which would have been like the early, like the late 80s.
Because the way Tzeentch is described doesn't make me think of bird.
You know, I don't know if I could. I don't actually know the like big inspiration about why they went with that particular animal. I would guess it probably has something to do with like Michael Moorcock, because Michael Moorcock is a fantasy author who designed a series that the vast majority of Slaanesh stuff oh yeah, Lord Chris, that's true. Yeah, the Slaanesh brother. Yeah, I will say that for the Slaanesh brother, I definitely would not make the typical like, oh, like it's a sex fiend pervert character. Like, I would want to do something really unique with the character. Like, you know, like a really cool idea would be like imagine if he was like a musician, and like the concept is that he has like a musical instrument, or that he wields as a weapon, or like as he kills people, he like creates music by the way he kills them. And like I would want to explore like concepts of art and excess as opposed to just like sex, drugs, rock and roll, because that is a very overplayed concept in my opinion. Or Slaanesh. But it's one of those things I'd want to sit and think about for like a while and sell a lot of ideas and throw away things I didn't like.
I mean, speaking of the sound thing, I think even in 40k there's some sort of like Chaos Space Marine faction that would do that. Yeah,
the Noise Marines.
All Striders of Slaanesh. What is their speed? Speed 100. Okay.
Yeah, they're quick, but they're the anti-large variant, and they also are not well armored, so you can tear them apart with Tzeentch just shooting at them.
Very cool. Gotcha. I think the Slaanesh units in general are just kind of just glass cannons.
Yeah. The speed is definitely the name of their game.
Gotta go fast. That's... Okay. Go to Marauders of Slaanesh. Oh yeah, they break super easily. Okay, yeah, never mind. I was worried for nothing. It's been a while since I fought in Slaanesh. Also, it's been a while since that super chat, but thank you very much, Necromancer Cobalt. I hope you're enjoying your campaign as well. Ah, I see. Hammond has super chatted
under control,
and would like for me to ask you, why was Nagash weak? Or is that just the story kind of thing?
Because it's really easy to talk shit about somebody who's not around to slap you for saying it.
I see.
A lot of people like to talk smack on Nagash because they know he's currently dead, but when those characters tend to bump into him when he comes back, they usually go from the talking shit phase to the finding out phase really fast.
It's just your average day on Twitter. Right. Let's move you guys over here. Oh no. Okay. Well, I mean, we do have these 3 guys over on the side here, which is likely the reason why this flank was just absolutely destroyed.
We just got this last little core of demonettes, and I think we're good.
Yeah. I got pretty lucky on the Oxyodal missions this time. All 4 of them are easy, so... No random, like, Nurgle warp grind... No, not warp grinders. Soul grinders.
Well, soul grinders,
Just a full stack of them. Jesus, when I ran into that, I was like, what? What is that? What is the RNG? Ugh.
Okay, those demons are disintegrating. Have some.
The game doctor wants to know why Manfred is the worst. I have a pretty good feeling why Manfred's the worst.
Manfred's not the worst. Everyone gives him so much crap over one bad writer's handling of him. It's not his fault. That being said, Manfred is ultimately he's a betrayal archetype character. You know, he's your character. Who is it from the Three Kingdoms legend? Like Cao Cao? You know, the concept of the character that's like, I would rather backstab everybody in the universe before they get a chance to backstab me once.
I see.
Manfred is a character who essentially is often 3 steps ahead of everybody else. And because of that, he's always betraying people because he usually correctly believes that everyone's gonna betray him. So he just betrays them first. But a lot of people hate him because he literally got the killing blow on the Warhammer Fantasy Universe.
It was when he stabbed Supreme himself in the back when he was setting up a barrier, right?
Yeah,
that's my general understanding of it.
Back, they were essentially attempting to close a chaos portal, and if they had succeeded, the world would have been quote unquote saved, even though the vast majority of it was already destroyed. But it would have continued to limp on in some fashion. But Manfred stabbed Balthazar Gelt in the back because the way the writer handled it, which isn't horrible, I just wish they had done a lot more build up to it. But basically the idea was that Nagash was around, and Manfred knew that if Nagash was allowed to win and he successfully defeated chaos and kind of saved the world, then that would mean that Nagash would essentially be around forever, and Manfred would forever be stuck under Nagash's thumb. But the weird thing that I don't like about the way the writer handled it is that
Sotek?
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. What was that?
Oh, that was weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, the long story short is that Manfred didn't want to be trapped under Nagash for forever, so he kills Gelt to destroy the world. Because if everybody dies, then he doesn't have to be under Nagash. Even though that's not what Manfred would do. Because Manfred is more of like a survivor than anything. Because it was very bizarre. It didn't make any sense. It was a really stupid plot point. But because they needed somebody to be the like, unexpected
betrayer
heel enters the arena at the last second, and they just decided to pin it on Manfred, even though he didn't deserve that.
because Manfred is already known as the betrayer archetype, likely. So it's like, if there's a character that would do it,
didn't really,
maybe.
Yeah, like it just didn't really fit his character that well. It's like, I don't think he would have done that. I think it would have been far more likely for him to be obsessed with trying to find a way to survive, and then deal with Nagash later.
Yeah. I mean, just from listening to you talk about him, I feel like that's how it would go, but, you know, I guess we can let bygones be bygones. It happened, and it's over.
That being said, like, you know, he can be a bastard. Like, he did kill... Vlad von Karstein only lost and was only killed because of Manfred. And Manfred, like, Vlad was Manfred's dad, essentially. Like, Manfred sees him as a father, and Vlad sees him as a son, and Manfred still backstabbed and killed him. Not literally, but he put into motion the events that allowed Vlad to be destroyed.
Okay, I see. I guess that's just par for the course in the little Warhammer universe. What's here?
It makes for good family drama.
Is there a lot of yes, 100%. I don't even need to ask that.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's an exaggerated version of our world, and have you seen our world?
Oh no, I try my best not to see it as much as possible. Touching grass is cringe.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Alright, let's see. Hammond asks him the 2 Amazonian origin stories. Amazonians? We have Amazonians in Warhammer too?
Yeah, I'm actually really shocked that Hammond asked a legitimate question and not something like a weird pun or like an upsetting question. I'm genuinely a little shocked. But in answer to that, yes, there are Amazons in Warhammer. They primarily live, if you look at the northern part of Lustria, there's a little island just off the Tarantula coast. Oh, I can draw on this map. So if you look up here, there's this little island.
Oh, okay, there.
That you can't actually go to in Total Warhammer. You can't go to it right now. And that is Amazon Island. And the Amazons are a group of warrior women who are big ladies. Like, they're, I think at their smallest, they're usually in the ballpark of like 6 feet tall. But they're like 6 foot to 6'6", I think, on average. So they're big ladies, and they're like super muscular, all this stuff. And they live on that island that nobody is able to get to, and they also control a fair bit of territory right around that coastline, and also the Amazon River, which is kind of an alternate way of saying the Amazon River, because it's based on the Amazon River from our world. Because, you know, Games Workshop tries really hard with their names. But so the river Amazon, which kind of doesn't make sense because it's named after the Amazons, but they're called Amazons, even though it's the river Amazon with an X, but whatever. I
mean, the Amazon River is copyrighted, okay?
Yeah. So the apparently, well, so they're there, and they're these really, really badass women. And the thing, so a canonical thing about them that raises a lot of eyebrows is that they have access to Old One technology. So they have access to weapons that are basically super hardcore sci-fi weapons in a world which, you know, sort of the Lizardmen, right? You know, the Lizardmen have like little crystals that can shoot solar energy at you, and crystals orbital that can like heal them, and orbital bombardment laser and all this stuff. So the Amazons have something similar, except for instead of theirs being attached to like dinosaurs and stuff, it's usually smaller arms that they keep on themselves. And so the Amazons are purely women. They don't have any men at all whatsoever in their tribe. And there are 2 origin myths for where they come from, and which one's true and which one isn't kind of depends. It's likely both are true, but there's a little bit of there's some back and forth nuance. And the first origin myth is that is the simple one, which is that a long time ago, I think it was the year 888, if I remember right, there was a Norskin who made his way across the world. He sailed across the world and he wound up in Lustria, and he's often credited as being the first human discoverer of Lustria. And his name was Lost Ericsson. And Lost Ericsson...
Lost Ericsson? Okay.
Yeah, I know, his name's Doobie. He showed up and he was like, all right, this place is pretty cool, and it took us for fucking ever to get here. So instead of leaving, we're just gonna live here now. Like, we're gonna set up shop. This is our new home. And so he did. And he set up a place that is still there to this day, which is very impressive, actually, called Skeggi. And he named it Skeggi.
Okay, it's the minor Norskin faction that you fight with
Yes.
Mazdamundi and Warhammer 2. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so Skeggi was set up all those thousands of years ago by Lost Ericsson, and he named it after his daughter, his firstborn daughter, who was the first Norskin child born on Lustria, Skeggi. And so after doing that, the Norskin set up, but there was a problem, which is that among all of the Norskin longships, because it was a very large group, it wasn't just a single longship, it was a fleet. They had a group of very, very, very powerful warrior women with them, because in Norska, nobody gives a shit if you're a man or a woman. You are expected to fight and kill and yada, 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 in the name of the dark gods and all that other stuff. And so these women, known as Valkyries, were warrior women who were used to fighting and kicking ass and taking names and all the other stuff you would expect. And the Norskins, some among them, basically turned to them and said, okay, well, we're setting up this new colony and we're embracing living in this new world, which is very dangerous, and we all need to stick together and all this stuff. So how about y'all stop being super badass warrior women and become like wives and like home, housewives, raise children, do that kind of stuff. That way, we can like survive here. And they were like, how about you go fuck yourself? And a bit of a fight broke out, and the Valkyries, who were very strong in their own right, basically said, all right, screw this, we're leaving. Like, we're not going to be like enslaved to your whims. We're going to go do our own thing. So they left. And they left from Skeggi, and they basically followed the coastline south until they arrived in Amazon Island. And what happened from there is a complete mystery. It's believed that they found something there. But
probably some like old technology. I've had to guess.
Yeah, but the other myth, which is honestly the more accurate one, is that the Amazons have always been there. That the Amazons, while they look human, are not technically human. They're more like a human adjacent, kind of like halflings and ogres are human adjacent. And the Amazons were instead created by an old one by the name of Rig. And Rig is a really interesting old one because the lizardmen are the only, they're essentially the keepers of the vast majority of lore that we have when it comes to understanding the old ones. And the problem is the lizardmen have a really hard time understanding what Rig is and what her job was, because the whole thing about Rig is that what notes we have say that Rig was the old one who was responsible for basically, as the old ones were like creating all these different species, and they were creating all this new life. They created elves and dwarves and humans and ogres and halflings and a bunch of other stuff. That Rig was essentially responsible for the female aspects of life. So making sure, and what exactly that entails is difficult. It's not explained very well, but it kind of seems to suggest that she was often responsible for making sure that the species were capable of reproduction, making sure that they could be sustainable, and that they could be self-sufficient in all sorts of different ways. And because of that, Rig is specifically noted as being an old one who herself is female, and also was in charge of or responsible for designing the concept of, or who knows, but was somehow heavily involved in the concepts of making the feminine aspects to all of the races we all know and love, and yada yada yada. And the problem with that is that the lizardmen don't have a concept of sex or gender or anything like that. The lizardmen are just lizardmen. They are spawned from spawning pools. They do not have offspring. They do not mate. They don't have sex organs. They don't have a concept of male or female. They just are. So the lizardmen look at this whole thing, which all of their sacred texts, that all the sacred plaques and stuff that refer to Rig, always refer to Rig in this feminine aspect. The lizardmen look at that and they're like, I don't know what that means. Like, so the lizardmen came to the decision. Yeah, they're like, yeah, whatever. We don't know what this means, and it doesn't seem super important to what we're supposed to do with the Great Plan, so we're just going to ignore that. Okay. But Rig, according to some text, was for some reason created her own species uniquely. She created her own form of life that was exclusively female. Now, whether she did this just as like she wanted to have like a little pastime, ooh, Morgar, huh?
This is a very bad battle. This is going to be very fun. Yes, he has a full 20 stack last I saw him. Okay.
But it's like either it's like why she created the Amazons, we don't know. Like whether it was because she wanted to just make her own species, or did she get kicked out from the other old ones and she like went to go do her own thing? You know, was she exiled? We have no idea. And so whatever happened. And because of that, the Amazons are an old one created species who have held on to a significant amount of knowledge. And to make things even more mysterious, somehow, some way, despite being an old one, Rig is believed to have had a daughter named Kalith. And Kalith is the mother of the Amazons. So that opens up a huge amount of weird questions and concepts of, can old ones have children? And if so, why is Rig the only one who did? And it's a very weird set of really fascinating questions. But ever since then, the Amazons have lived on Amazon Island at the Temple of Kara, and Kara is another figure who's important to the Amazons for different reasons. But they have a lot of knowledge about Rig and Kalith and Kara, and they are guardians of a lot of really important places and forms of technology within Lustria. And like their relationship with the lizardmen is kind of sometimes they're allies, sometimes they're enemies. But a lot of the time the lizardmen just kind of let the Amazons do their thing, and the Amazons just kind of let the lizardmen do their thing. But sometimes the Amazons will act as guides for expeditions that come to Lustria. And whether that's because the Amazons want to like learn knowledge about what other races are up to, like all these different humans, or wow, those chameleon skinks are just deleting those Centigores.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Let me see.
Just the blinding power of the sun via blowpipe right in their
just
face.
Immediately. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's divvy this up. This is going to be one heck of a battle.
Yeah. The tricky thing with this is we need to make sure we want to kill the Centigores first, then we need to kill the Doom Bull or the Gore Bull, then the Chaos Spawn, and then basically everything but Morgar. We want to save Morgar for absolute last.
Gotcha.
Because he is a nightmare to kill with shooting attacks.
Morgar ain't gonna go down, yeah, for sure. I'm likely also gonna lose my Basiladons.
He has 75% missile resist. He does not care about missiles.
Alright.
Okay, yeah, that's what's super fun about the Amazons, is that they're just kind of a big mystery of like, are they human or do they just kind of look human? Do they breed asexually? Do they maybe take in humans? Because that's like possible, maybe, because that's like the whole thing with the Norskins is like, were the Norse, some scholars within the actual fantasy universe are like, perhaps that was the origin of the Amazons, was that they were created by these Norskins that went to this island. But then some other guys point out, no, that can't be it, because we have records that say the Amazons were there way earlier. So that doesn't make any sense. And so it's like, okay, did they join up in that case? Like, did the Amazons take in the Norskin Valkyries and add them to their numbers? And if so, like, what are the repercussions of that? Yada, yada, yada. It just adds into, it's really good world building, which is, I love that kind of stuff. Because it doesn't directly give you the answers, but it gives you a lot of different puzzle pieces to play with.
Yeah,
you are
really
probably going to want to get
Oxiodal
out of there.
I am trying very hard. we kind of need to have them like run up towards us, and we can just shoot at them.
It'll get easier in a good moment, because we're still under the effects of the ambush debuff, and the ambush debuff is very painful.
Ooh, what does the ambush debuff give you? Like, reduced leadership?
It reduces melee attack, melee defense, leadership, and speed or charge bonus, one of the two. It basically just nerfs all of your stats directly into the ground.
Jalapenos. Oof.
But the good news is you got all of the really important skink units out with the specialist ammo, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah. Can't let these guys die. If we can get a position,
and we don't necessarily need to win
too.
this fight, because I don't think Morgur will flat out beat you if you lose this fight. The important thing is we just need to kill as much of his fast stuff as we can.
Okay, those guys.
So like those chariots gotta go.
Gotcha.
Make sure you spread out your skinks, because he's gonna come for you.
Yeah. Shot says to run for the exit point. I can try.
Well, the exit point is currently on the other side of all of that.
That mass, yeah.
But we've got plenty of damage to mess them up pretty good. Like, those chariots are pretty much gone. And then
I think what we can
there,
do is, like, what is Morgur's speed? His speed is only 41.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we can outrun the guy. Yeah.
It's just a matter of dealing with all of the. We still need to get rid of that Centaur unit. That Centaur unit needs to be next priority. The one that's in the middle of the chameleon skinks until they're like shattered.
Gotcha. Here come chaos.
We're almost through all the fast stuff though, so that's good.
Sure.
I think he's only got one other. I think he's only got one other unit of warhounds. Okay, so next thing we need to take out is the Gore Bull that's chasing Oxiodal. That's next major priority.
Okay.
But I'll keep the heals flowing.
I mean, thank goodness I got lifeblood on, but yeah. Oof. Okay, putting that on is not going to work.
Yeah, run your. I would run the chameleon skinks off to this direction. That way we're getting away from the main horde. I'm gonna make sure these centaurs don't come back.
Trying my best to get the high ground, as Obi-Wan taught me. Nice.
It is a helpful thing. We got more. We got another unit of Chaos Warhounds chasing us. So the Warhounds need to go next.
Okay.
Warhounds are no bueno, because they're super fast.
Oh, there they are. Yeah. Yodo, keep up with the group, please.
Okay, this is looking good though. This is looking really good.
Somehow. Skirmish warfare.
It's because he's skink Rambo, dude.
Hell yeah.
Ambushing Beastman horde, please. Can't ambush the Doomslayer. He's just gonna doom you down.
Okay.
All right, that's good. So now you can essentially just make sure you're staying ahead of that Ungor herd, and you can just mow them down.
Yeah. They seem to be streaming in one by one too, which is just making it a lot easier for our lives.
Yeah. I should be able to kill the Gorbel here in just a sec.
Gotcha. Yeah, Morgur is lagging far behind. Thank goodness he's so slow.
Yeah, I would not be super surprised if CA gives him some campaign buffs in the near future, because this is actually a bit of a debuffed version of him. When he was initially put into the game, he was actually a fair bit stronger, but because it was Warhammer 1, there wasn't a lot of what I guess people would refer to as power creep that we have nowadays. So Morgar's kind of a weird character where when he initially put into the game, he was much closer to his tabletop system. Because in tabletop, Morgar is fucking terrifying. And so they debuffed him a bit, like he's supposed to just be unbreakable, like always. But he's actually not in Total War because when they originally added him to the game, being unbreakable was like insanely rare. Okay,
I see.
There are some. Oh, did they break? No, come on, break, you little bastards. Okay, they're breaking.
No beans. Yeah.
All right, I've got the Gorbel coming up quick.
Roger. The moment he runs into range of all my chameleon skinks, he's just gonna get deleted. That's.
Yep.
I can just
and then the last big threat is that unit of Chaos Warhounds that's way off to the over the hill.
Oh
there.
my god, yeah, they rallied back. Okay, I see. Oh yeah, he's dead. He's a gunner.
Yep.
Nice. Good thing you got all the ammo. Oh yeah, I got the Rite of Sotek or whatever. And just more ammo.
Oh yeah, Rite of Sotek is, can't go wrong with that. Alright. And then, yeah, we just lead them on, and those Warhounds will probably be here in about 10-ish seconds, and we just need to make sure we prioritize them when they get in range.
Yeah. I can crest over this hill a little bit. These guys aren't gonna get into range of us anytime soon, so... If we all focus the Warhounds, we should be a-okay. Alright. Well,
bring Oxioto a little bit off to the, the right here. That way I can heal him and the Troglodon without... Okay, that should be good. That should be good. Just because you can only heal maximum of 4 units, so you gotta make sure not to get too many units, because you can never be sure who it's gonna prioritize.
Be gone, Chaos Spawn! Okay, yeah, those Warhounds are... they're not breaking. Okay, they're broken.
Yeah, there they go. Alright, now we just gotta deal with the Chaos Spawn, and then we're pretty much golden.
Yay. Alright. This is a question that people have been asking that I should ask you ever since the very first time we streamed. I never got around to it. I have no idea what this is. They want me to ask you about this thing called Kremlo. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh no.
you'll just I guess we'll just never know and just have to stop talking about it.
I see.
Kremlo is a very, very, very old character from Warhammer Fantasy 3rd edition.
Oh god.
And back then, the Lizardmen were not what they are today. The Lizardmen were very different. Because the Lizardmen, as actual Lizardmen, were not a main playable faction. It was just the Slawn. And the Slawn were a race of frogmen. But unlike the Slawn of today, which are the big fat toads that are on their palanquins and yada yada yada. Oh, watch out for the archers.
Yeah, we're gonna take a face full of that.
The Slawn back then were a race purely made of frog warriors. So they were like bipedal frogs that stood up and were like the height of a man, and they were really long and they were bean poles. So they had really long legs and really long arms, and they were warriors.
Strange. Okay.
Yeah, and it was all frogs, nothing but frogs. And there were a bunch of frog people. It was nothing but frogs for days. Frogs as far as the eye could see. And the Lizardmen were an allied race to the Slawn, as were the Troglodytes, which the Troglodytes were a weird, underground species of bizarre, pale-skinned, scaly, scaly, pale-skinned, weird creatures that lived in underground caverns. And the Lizardmen were, lizard men. And they were like crocodile people. And they were both really diminutive, savage races that the Slawn Empire could take as little allies. But the Slann were just frogs, just so many frogs, just more frogs than you can imagine. And their art was their art was actually quite interesting. But they were much more warrior focused. They didn't have nearly as much of an emphasis on.
Ooh. Hello? It happened again?
Oh, it happened again?
Discord, no.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I think it's just if I hold my... You know what? I bet I know how to fix it.
Oh my god, we actually beat Mortar? Yeah, let's beat him the fuck up. Yeah, run, little man. Make you into a steak.
You would not want to eat Mortar steak. I could not. That would be so bad. That man regenerates so quick. Like, only eat that if you want your beef to be fighting its way back out of you in like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
But Kremlo was that for this whole Slann Empire story, there was a story that was written, a little narrative story about a Slann called Kremlo. And Kremlo was a Slann that got separated from the other Slann, and he basically got baby Moses into like around, I think it was Skeggy, but he got adopted by the Norskins. And so the Norskins took in this weird little frog baby, and the Norskins were like, "Oh, he came from space. Like he's a gift from space. He's a gift from the gods." So that's where the stupid phrase of "Hail Kremlo, he comes from space" comes from, because the Norskins thought he came from space, and they adopted him and they raised him as one of their own. So he was a Slann frogman with all of the cultural things of and granted, once again, the Slann were like warriors. They were not the Slann that we have now. They were like these weirdly athletic frog people whose only special ability was that they were relatively amphibious and they could leap a surprisingly far distance. And that was it. Like, that was all they were good for. And so Kremlo was like a great warrior chief of the Norskins and was like leading his people to punch the Slann Empire in the nuts. So that on like raids and stuff, and he was a really stupid character, but for some reason he has survived in the cultural zeitgeist from the 1980s.
Okay.
Because there's just some fans of his that just won't let him go.
I see. Okay, gotcha. Well, that is a very interesting combination. Okay, it's really tall frogman that was raised by humans, can jump really far.
I mean,
gotcha.
as far as like compared to humans go, they weren't that tall, really. It was just they were just tall for frogs.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh man. Well, there you go.
Old Warhammer was like super trash. Like, I will be the first person to say that as loud as I can. OG Warhammer was just garbo.
Dang.
It was awful. It was so stupid. It took until like 5th edition to evolve into something that I actually genuinely love and have a lot of respect for.
I see.
Oh, I can just steal Oxial from under Skrok's hat? Yes, please. It only cost me some skinks. My house.
Yeah. Well, there he goes.
Get owned, rat boys!
I was in the middle of teleporting, I see. Okay. Well,
yeah, anyway, people just keep bringing it up because Kremlo tortures my existence. I hate Kremlo. I hate him so
that's why. Okay, gotcha.
So, people just like to bring him up because of my expressed distaste for him as a concept.
Alright. Well, I mean, I feel like in the early stages it was kind of like a concept that was kind of taking shape, so yeah, I kind of understand like it being pretty rough around the edges.
Oh man, you have no idea.
I don't.
like I say this, you know, it's like when you talk about like the history of animation or the history of writing or any of those other things, like you hit a point where you're like, it's important to understand as we talk about like, oh, I love this thing or I love this thing, that we have to acknowledge that our roots were like really racist. Really bad about that.
No! Oh God, what happened? Oh. Oh.
They didn't have time for logic or storytelling in the 80s. They had powders to smell. Yeah, that's true. That nose dust was getting them going. Yeah, like it's very accurate to say that modern Warhammer, like Modern Games Workshop, does not like when people bring up original Warhammer. It makes them very uncomfortable because, to be frank, it's just very uncomfortable.
Oh no, I see. Oh dear God, but he's so right. Well, I mean, I guess I'm glad that I wasn't there around for it. Okay, let's see. Could you ask Loremaster what he thinks is inside of the egg of Quango? I have no idea what any of these questions are. There's so much that I don't know about.
We already know what's inside the egg of Quango. So the egg of Quango is just a... when the lizardmen were doing stuff, there was a discovery of an egg. It was actually when a pyramid collapsed. But an egg was discovered, and after being kind of looked at, and it was like hidden in a chamber. And it was brought to Lord Mazdamundi, and they were like, what is this? And Mazdamundi looked at it for a while, and he's like, oh, it's the egg of a Quango. And a Quango is a very ancient species of creature that was considered heavily revered and loved by the old ones. So Mazdamundi basically declared that on a very auspicious moment, when destiny called for it, the egg would hatch, and the Quango would emerge forth, and something important would happen. And they made it a goofy-ass magic item in the game that was actually super hilarious, because from a lore perspective, Mazdamundi is like, this egg will only hatch at a moment of great importance, and the Quango will come forth and something special will happen. But then the magic item would literally say something along the lines of like, to use the egg of Quango, your character like cracks the egg over his knee and like throws it at the enemy and hopes that something happens. And you would roll a d6, and depending on what you rolled would determine the state of the Quango when it came out of the egg. So it was like if you rolled a 1 through 3, the Quango would be this like horrifically decrepit baby that's like thousands of years old that would cough up some dust and like bite somebody for like a really sad point of damage that probably wouldn't hurt them, and then it just dies. And you're like, oh great, that was totally worth it. If you rolled a 4 through 5, the Quango was reasonably strong, and would do like a little bit of damage as like a like it was like a mostly formed adult creature, but then it would die from old age. But if you rolled a 6, the Quango would like burst from its egg in a glorious show of like multicolored light and would breathe lightning that would obliterate the enemies before it, and it would do like a shit ton of damage, and then it would fly miraculously off into the horizon. But someone in chat actually points out what it actually is, which is quasi-autonomous non-governmental entity, Quango. Quango eggs are a joke in the United Kingdom, as you're as likely to get a useful result from one as you are to get an egg. So it's a stupid British joke.
Okay, well, I guess that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, to be fair, is like technically the answer to about 95% of what's going on in Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah, I suppose that does make sense. I believe GW started as a British company, yeah.
Yeah, there is the eternal struggle as a fan of Warhammer that, like, as an American, I tend to take everything very face value and seriously from GW, but in reality, the vast majority of it is like some kind of stupid reference or pun or something. And so I'll be in a room with like like Andy Law, for instance, you know, people that actually wrote this stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I love like this reference or this character or this concept, and they look at it and they're like, oh yeah, that was just a stupid British joke. And it's like, stop ruining things for me. Just lie to me. Pretend like it's serious. Just lie to my face. I would prefer that over knowing how much I despise your culture. Stop it.
Dang. Yeah, that's actually really funny, especially if, like, you know, a lot of fans start making theories about it, and, like, the greater meaning behind something, and then the writer comes on and it's like, ah, yeah, it was just some sort of weird Easter egg that we thought about.
Yeah, and that's why, chat, it's always super important to live by the philosophy of when you're consuming media, always run by author is dead theory. The author's opinion doesn't matter. Just leave it in the garbage. That way you can enjoy things in life. I'm gonna start making an alliance with the Southern Sentinel Lizardmen here, see if I can confederate them.
Oh, they're still alive? Oh, I see. Oh, it's because you're messing up Pestilence.
Yeah, because
gotcha.
I'm punching Skrulk in the throat, yeah.
Yeah, those guys can't ever hold against Pestilence in any of the games I play. I haven't played Tenuan yet, but yeah.
You'll probably like him. His campaign can be a little hard if you're someone that really tends to like and rely on Saurus, because his campaign is like, oh, you like Saurus?
Skinks.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Because the first part of his campaign, Saurus cost 200% additional upkeep. So
awesome.
like Saurus are ludicrously expensive.
Let's see. Okay. Freaking Zange declaring war on me, that's fine.
Alright, we got non-aggression with Gorok up and running.
Nice. We do need the rock to help. Oh, I need to go kill Malagor the Dark Omen? Okay.
And you've just got Cal on the mind.
Yeah, I really want that steak. One of these chaos herds have to be edible.
Yeah, sure, why not? Are you aware of the YouTuber named Tariff?
Tariff? Oh yeah. I've seen some of his videos around.
His goofy ass, like, he single-handedly like ruined, I think, Norska and Beastman for so many people. Because of the jokes.
God, what did he do?
If you've seen all of his videos about them, where he just turns Morgar into a cow in every single video, regardless of how good he actually is. He always just plays him as a stupid joke.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'll have to go and check out some of his videos. I've been recommending them way too much, and people talk about them a lot.
Tariff is hilarious. Am I talking about the Norska monkey? Yes, I am talking about Monkey Norska. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank goodness we could auto-resolve him to death. Let me... loot and occupy? Yeah, sure.
Malagor is dead. Good.
Nobody liked you anyways.
So here's a question for you. You've been watching a good amount of like 40K stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
So what have been the highlights for you so far? For like, what's the stuff you've actually found interesting or enjoyed out of 40K?
Well, I see. This is an interesting question. Now knowing the fact that you don't really like 40K.
I always like to phrase it as I like to make fun of 40K. Like I can appreciate a lot of parts of it. I hate Space Marines. I don't hate 40K. I hate Space Marines.
Why do you dislike Space Marines?
Anti-Imperium.
Anti-Imperium? Oh my god, that's heresy.
Yeah, I'm full on. I am full on Team Tyrannid. I say let's eat it all and start over.
Team Tyrannid. I see. That's been something I've been meaning to get into as well. It's just more the Xenos lore. But the more I try to like delve into the 40K lore, it's mostly been about the Imperium, and I feel like a lot of the books are just about the Imperium. Maybe some about the Necrons too. Although I suppose I haven't just gotten too far into it. But I am a big fan of sci-fi as much as I am of fantasy. There are certain aspects of it that I enjoy, as in like I just enjoy dark fantasy in general, so some of the concepts there I'm pretty familiar with. And I like the fact that there's so many different factions, and even within the same races there are just so many different flavors to them. Like if we're going to talk about the Space Marines, there's like so many different varieties of them that really you can mix and match whatever, and you can probably find something that you enjoy. Personally, I really like the...
There are very many.
There are a lot. Yeah.
So many.
I really like the Grey Knights, just because of the concept of them kind of like, you know, living life on the edge with their psychic powers and be connected to the war.
Have you played Chaos Gate Demon Hunter yet?
I was planning to. I was actually going to announce that. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, you'll. It's a very good game. It is. Super fun.
I've heard. I'm a massive XCOM fan, and everybody was saying that.
Oh, you're gonna love that game.
You have to play this game.
Yeah, that game was like fucking made for you. Then, yeah, you're gonna have a good time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was planning to like announce that I was going to start streaming it on like Thursdays, but on my birthday I was gifted an entire streaming PC, so I'll wait for that to come in before we start doing that. Yeah, man. I just massive shout out to the community. Thank you guys so much. That was $2,000 just in one day. Like Jesus Christ, you guys are insane. But
good.
Yeah, I was I really like the Chaos. The Grey Knights because of, you know, how they are, as well as the Mechanicus, because they're kind of like the mad scientist guys who tinker with themselves, and that kind of just fits with my own lore as well, I suppose. And how they all mix and match and interact with each other, and sometimes be super over the top and really, really stupid.
Yeah, it's funny that I think for me, are you done with your turn, by the way?
Oh yeah, let me figure this out. Yep, cool.
Yeah, the thing for 40K for me is that, like, I don't like, if somebody likes it, awesome, great, cool. I still, one of my fondest memories is I need to get back to doing it. I used to participate every year in the Reddit, the Warhammer subreddit, Christmas Secret Santa. That's the word I'm looking for. And which, if it's still as good as it used to be, granted this was like 8 years ago, I think. I could not recommend it enough, and I will always have the super fond memories of, it's a Secret Santa, so you get sent a random person and like a place where you can send their gift to, and like some little notes about them. And I got a guy who was like fairly new into the hobby, and he was a big Space Wolf fan. So I bought him like a whole bunch. I basically bought him all of the minis that involved a wolf on the Space Wolf. So like the Space Wolf Cavalry, where it's like the actual Space Wolf Marines riding on the giant wolves, and the special character that's like the dude on the chariot being pulled by wolves and all this other stuff. And it was the only time in my entire life where, so like I bought a ton of minis, like spent a pretty good amount of money on it. And I printed off, once again, only time in my life I've done this. It's moderately embarrassing, but it was for the sake of the gift. I printed off a meme, which was the yo dog, I heard you like whatever in your whatever meme.
Oh my god.
And it literally just said, yo dog, I heard you like Space Wolves, so I got you Space Wolves writing Space Wolves something Space Wolves space, like just stuffed it all in the box and sent it. But which that was really fun. That guy was I got a really nice message from him when it arrived. But I also will always laugh about that, or not laugh, but love that was the year that I got my gift from a professional cosplayer, and he made me a full-size Lizardman sword, which I still have in my office. So I've got like a really nice quality big old Lizardman Saurus sword, which I love to death.
Hell yeah. I didn't know that they did the Secret Santa thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's super great. Well, it was. I don't know if it still is. I haven't done it in a long time. But like a lot of my relationship with 40K is not necessarily 40K's fault. Like it goes back to like the early 2000s, back when I played Warhammer Fantasy in person all the time, and I was like a teenager, and I would hang out at my local store, and so, you know, I would be at my local hobby store playing fantasy, and the 40K players would be there, and like the amount of shit talking between the fantasy fans and the 40K fans was unbelievable.
Why?
Oh,
is it like, oh, my fandom is better than yours?
Oh, yeah. It was like hardcore dick measuring contest, like talking about like, oh, the lore of ours is so much better, our game is better, and like your stuff's crap, and like just so much shit talking, constant, endless shit talking.
Doesn't make any sense. I mean, Warhammer 40K was built off the backs of fantasy. What?
Oh yeah, you know, which we wielded like a cudgel against them constantly. But you know, it's stupid children things.
I see.
But I don't. But so like you had a lot of these like people just not liking each other because it's like, oh, well, you don't like the thing that I like, so blah, blah, blah. But the worst part of it was being a fantasy fan back then started to get rough, because that was when GW started leaning so hard into 40K that they essentially started abandoning their other properties. Which those were the dark ages, and that really and truly was not 40K's fault. Of that, just a lot of the people that ran GW at the time started changing their position from going, instead of just supporting all of the games we support, we only want to support the things that make the absolute most money. And so they started canceling everything. And this is where a lot of the side games that a lot of people love to this day were discontinued. So like Battlefleet Gothic, Blood Bowl, Mordheim, just all these different crazy side games all started getting canceled because GW was like, oh, well, they're not making enough money, so boo on them. And when living through that time, like you would literally see an announcement from Games Workshop on what felt like a daily basis of they were only releasing Space Marines, and that's it. Like there was no Xenos or anything. It was just every month or every couple months was just more Space Marines, more Space Marines, more Space Marines, more Space Marines. Or all the other groups were like, can we please just get some support? Like, please, just a scrap of new content.
Yeah.
Anyone, please. But it was, you know, Space Marine people, I'll give them full credit. They'd spend money. They spend money like crazy. And it was also a lot cheaper for GW because they could just print models that were very
similar
compared to everything else, were very easy to make and were very simplified and very similar to one another. So sculpts were very cheap. And they made bank, and that led to like fantasy dying and a bunch of other stuff. And but I also just find the lore of like, if there's a fantasy setting of any kind, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever, and it has humans in it, and humans make up more than like 50% of the focus, I just don't care.
I actually kind of feel you on that one. I remember, I remember talking about getting into fantasy, and I'm like, dude, if I wanted to play a fantasy game, I'm not gonna play as a human. Like anything else but human, because I want to like role play the entire fantasy part, which is also kind of why I really enjoyed the Lizardman.
I know, it's like, and that's the thing for me with 40K, is that it's like you have this whole galaxy with all these Xenos, and only like a teeny tiny fraction of them are even playable, and of the fraction that are playable, like a lot of them are just like space elves. Like three different variants of space elves. It's like, I think of like true aliens. The only true aliens are like, that are like really different. It's like the Necrons, which are robots, like Terminators essentially. And then like orcs and Tyranids. And that's like it. It's like, where's all the like really weird, crazy stuff? And GW's like, nah, no, we don't do that here.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Like, considering the scale of 40k, I always felt like there should be more impact, as well as a lot more variety of things.
Oh yeah, I mean, GW, they released a piece of art, I think at the start of, it was either 8th edition or 9th edition 40k. They had this artist made this beautiful piece of art that just showcased like all these crazy different Xenos factions. Like it was literally like imagine like a stained glass window, but every frame or every little piece of the stained glass window is like a different Xenos. So there was like these plant creatures and these fungi creatures and like these weird bat monsters and these weird tentacle things, like just all these crazy fucking aliens.
Awesome. Yeah, I should try and find that.
And it's like, well, those are all super cool. And it's like, oh yeah, but none of them are playable. We're also not going to talk about any of them. And they only exist as punching bags for the humans. So play humans. And I'm like, boo! Boo from the back rafters. Boo!
that does suck. Also, I am about to go into a massive war. I could auto-resolve this. Oh god. There's so many zombies though. There's just like 3 stacks of zombies.
If you want to auto-resolve, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to fight it, fight it.
Gee, I just don't want to waste time
just make
here,
sure
to be honest.
Just make sure you can get away if you take a lot of casualties from auto-resolving.
Yeesh. Ugh.
And I want to be clear, I don't hate anyone that enjoys 40k unless they're just like a weird douchebag, which those people are out there, but that's okay. Like if you like 40k, cool, good for you. I'm glad you like it. I hope you love it, and I hope it continues to be a good hobby for you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I don't yuck other people's yums.
Oh yeah, exactly. I say that all the time.
It's a good phrase.
It is.
I forget who I stole it from, but it's a good phrase.
Do you watch Co-Carnage?
Yeah, that's who says it. There we go.
Yep. Hey, bro.
Yeah, I fucking love Co-Carnage.
Basically, same person. We watch all the same people. We enjoy the same stuff. Oh my god.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Well, that was a lot. I feel the pain. But thank goodness that would have been a massive battle that I didn't want to be a part of.
Yeah, big zombie spam can be kind of scary for Oak Steel though, because you will run out of ammo.
Yeah.
We're just
versus Heinrich like, too. Ugh.
Yeah, an old Kimmler.
All right. Ton of questions here. I do actually want to continue the 40k and fantasy conversation, but Mr. Hammond over here sent 3 super chats in a row. Ask him about the guy who burned his army. What happened?
Oh. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, so okay.
Oh, no.
When the end times happened and they announced that fantasy was dying. And I don't remember exactly when he did it. I can't remember if he did it when the end times was happening and like we realized that the setting was ending, or if he did it when Age of Sigmar got announced. But somewhere in that like year time frame, this guy just got like so angry at Games Workshop that he posted a YouTube video of him taking all of his Dark Elf models and his Dark Elf army books, and he put them in his grill, covered them in lighter fluid, and just lit them on fire. So he just burned all of his books and his minis, which, you know, great for the environment, all that plastic toxic smoke.
Yeah, right.
But like, oh yeah, way to stick it to the corporation by burning your own property, you fucking idiot. It was like, even at the time, like even with how angry everybody was, everyone just looked at that dude and was like, dude, like, come on. Like, that is the most childish, dumb fucking thing you could do. Like, why not go, I don't know, like, go like, vandalize, like GW headquarters. Like, go spray paint their front wall or something. Like, stick it to them that way. Like, don't fucking burn your own stuff. That is just so dumb.
This is a joke, by the way, YouTube. We don't condone vandalization.
Yeah, don't actually do that. In Minecraft. In
Minecraft, yes.
It
works. That holds up in court, 100%.
But
You can Grom? Okay.
Grom wants something with you?
Grom wants to have peace because he's so scared of Oxyotl just appearing on his doorstep, I suppose.
I would. Oxyotl would be a nightmare for Grom.
I guess I'll take some free money, yeah. I don't think I'm gonna have any missions here anytime soon. But yeah, that does sound like a lot, and burning your own property that you bought, you paid money for that too. Sag, bro.
Like, he could have just sold it. Like, if you didn't want it.
Yeah, honestly. If you wanted to get out of the hobby and not support the company anymore. Yeah.
But no.
Well.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. There was I want to say he was from my local community too.
Oh boy.
It was ridiculous. But because for a lot of us, it was like, okay, if you don't want to play anymore, you could have A, sold it and got a lot of money. And even if you're like, I don't even want the money, I just want to get rid of it. It's like, you could have given it to like a kid or something who's getting into the hobby.
Yeah, for sure.
Or like someone who wants to play but like can't afford it or something. It's like, yeah, that was just sad. It's like, don't don't do that. Especially because like, man, if he had held on to it for just a little while, he could have like sold it relatively recently and made just bank.
Yeah.
Like,
that's unfortunate.
Old Warhammer Fantasy minis sell for so much money these days. It's insane.
Okay, if I were to get some, like, flyers, between the Fireleech Bolas and the Pterodon Riders, what would you usually pick up?
It depends on what you're fighting, generally speaking. Fireleech Bolas are better against, like, large groups of enemies. Javelins tend to be better against singular targets. But since you have, like, a lot of blowpipe skinks, I would say it's generally better to go Fireleech Bolas because they're better at, like, large gatherings of enemy troops.
Okay. Yeah, we already have a lot of single targets. Okay, gotcha. Also, are there, like, any units that you'd personally avoid on the Lizardman roster? I've kind of been trying to test things out. They kind of work.
I mean, yeah, I think everything has its place, but I also like to build thematic armies, not, like, armies that are designed to be, like, I don't min-max in this game.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
So I do not think I would be super helpful on that, because, like, I think everything's good in the right place. Whereas, like, if you go watch, like, Legends streams, so he could give you, like, a much more accurate, like, this is what's good, this is what's trash.
Oh, yeah. Legends videos have been extremely helpful for getting into Total War.
He is like the living embodiment of min-maxing.
Alright. Okay. Oh, God. Second super chat from Hammond. Ask him about the complaint letter of Scalies furries? Well, I guess when it comes to fantasy.
What was the question?
Ask him about complaint letter of Scalies / furries. I don't know.
I don't even know what that's asking about. Like, I know that we have a lot of Scalies and furries in fantasy. Which is weird, but I mean, it's not that weird. But like, once again, I don't yuck somebody else's yum. Like, if they like it, great, cool for them. There is a running kind of joke about how, like, there's all these potential sexy ladies in Warhammer Fantasy between, like, Grand Cathay and the elves and the humans and all this other stuff, but, like, the most popular like, sexy time factions are literally the Lizardmen and the Skaven, which is a thing.
What? Huh?
Not that I would know any specifics on that or anything.
Oh my god. I guess that makes a lot of sense. Oh, non-aggression with Gorok? Yeah. Oh. No wonder why the peeps have been sharing so much, strange art in the Discord.
Well, I'm a firm believer that to be a lore master, you need to understand all aspects of a community. But I will say that it was a harrowing day when it was a harrowing day when I realized that of the NSFW communities for Warhammer Fantasy, there's like a Warhammer Fantasy NSFW community, but then there was one branch that was so big that they had to go make their own community due to like oversaturation of the market, and it's the Skaven community.
Oh no. What in God's name? What I know, the Skaven are not.
Yeah. I would agree. There definitely tends to be a strong correlation between creative types and like more unique forms of NSFW expression. I'll put it that way. There's definitely a trend there.
I never thought about it like that, but
well, that's like the joke that's actually not a joke at all, because it's just a fact that like the vast majority of like high income earners in like the tech industry and like NASA and stuff tend to be furries.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Makes sense, I guess. Okay, well, that was an interesting conversation to have. Let's... Okay. Oh, final one. Ask about first...
Explain the Meow Ying mod? I will not.
Oh, wait.
I will do no such thing.
The Meow Ying? As in, like, make Meow Ying a cat girl kind of deal? Is that what you guys are doing?
No, it's so much worse.
Oh no! No!
Try more like an incredibly, horrifically detailed, in-depth mod that has a very intense stage-by-stage roleplay campaign for taking certain legendary lords and giving them the like corruptive influence from Slanesh, which is an actual in-game mechanic, but someone like playing that out to the extremes.
Oh, that's disgusting. Where can I find it?
Where? Where? I need to know where it is so I can avoid it.
So I can stay away from it. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a thriving mod community that is not allowed on the Steam Workshop.
I wonder why.
Who mod the absolute hell out of this game.
Yo, man. I mean,
to which I say, good on you, lads. Good on you.
Yeah. As an XCOM 2 fan, I love modders. They are the people that keep games alive. They're amazing.
But yeah, they kept Warhammer Fantasy alive.
Yeah.
Or Total War Warhammer, especially during the slow periods.
That's
but
good.
Boy howdy, do they like their things that I would not want to admit to knowing about stuff in public.
In public. We can admit it on stream, but not in public. Yeah.
Two different things, yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, this is gonna be a doozy.
Please send the link so I can block it. Yes, of course. right away.
Tribesman.
Does the AI
focus behind me? Crap.
Oh shit.
I thought he went north, but that is two different nerds.
Well, genuine question, does the AI know that I'm coming for them? Because they always just bunch up all their armies around the guy that I'm trying to go for, and that makes things way more difficult.
They generally don't. It's just how the AI, that's how they tend to kind of like bulk to prepare for things, is that they will usually like design. They'll build up all of their armies around a singular location, and before they will inevitably like go out to attack, or they'll just gather. And it depends on the AI. Sometimes the AI will do something weird where it'll recruit like a bunch of lords and they just stand around the settlement and don't do anything forever, and they're just kind of there.
I see.
It just kind of depends.
Okay. Well,
if I get, I'm gonna hope my Slon can defend this city, and I'm gonna be super butthurt and sad if he dies. Because getting a second generation Slon on your first pull is not easy.
Wait, I can get Rite of Primeval Glory? Oh,
have you got the money for it?
Reduced? Yeah, it's only 9,000 gold. Interesting.
You probably got one of the rewards you can get for Oxiodal is your rights.
Oh, it reduces the cost. I see. Gotcha.
So it's probably a temporary effect that you have right now.
I could get it, but my upkeep would tank, so yeah, no.
Yeah, well, so like what you could do is if you have Oxiodal in your home base, you can use it to spawn the army and then have Oxiodal move up to the army and interact with it to trade units and just take all the monsters that you want out and then disband everything else. It's a good way to rush some like tier 4, tier 5 units that normally you can't get till very, very late in the campaign. Is how some people use it. I virtually never use the Rite of Primeval Glory, but it does give you the ability to summon pulled ones faction wide for a while, which is really nice. As like so that ability is very, very good, because that's a good way to take out like artillery without having to lose some stuff, but also getting, you know, like a Carnosaur in the first 20 turns is nothing to sneeze at.
Oh yeah, for sure. And honestly, the Dino Ball armies that just come out of that are pretty fun to play.
Did you just capture a settlement in Norska?
Don't worry. I'm okay. I'm sure Wolfric the Wanderer will not be mad at this. I'm
just curious what you're gonna plan to do with that real estate you got there.
Oh, I'm gonna abandon it. No worries. Thing is, whenever I was playing with Oxiodal, if I didn't capture a settlement, I'd usually just still be on the territory of a faction I'm at war with, so I couldn't teleport out.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think I usually tend to raise it, but you can also try selling it if you're like not at war with every single one of those groups. If there's anyone you're not at war with, you could sell it to them.
I don't think I want to sell stuff to Chaos factions though. Yeah, disgusting.
Well, I mean, money is money. It's okay. We have a money laundering machine. We can run it through. It gets rid of all the chaos tank.
Ah, that makes sense.
Cool piece of tech. Cool piece of tech.
I see. Okay, let me finish upgrading my lord. Oh, I should definitely give you your unique stuff, Oxiodal. They're so good. Behind enemy lines. Yep. That, and some more spells. Cool.
Reminds me, I've got like a ton of Lizardman miniatures I've got sitting in a box I need to unpack. Had it sitting there for weeks.
Yeah, I need to check out how to play Warhammer Fantasy at some point. I recently looked at 40k and it was pretty interesting on the tabletop side of things.
Yeah, fantasy is definitely it's like not even close. Fantasy is by far the most complicated of the Games Workshop games. All of the other ones are way simpler. But
interesting.
Look, because I mean, Age of Sigmar just started a new edition, but I haven't seen the new rules yet. I know that's what yesterday's show was about, but I'm gonna watch that tonight because I was very comfortable in that chair. That chair was upsettingly. It was dangerous.
Yeah, Sotek needed his slant sleep. Yeah.
It lured me in. It's not my fault. It didn't ask for my consent. It just lured me into slumber.
Chat wants to know who Prince Apophis is, or wants me to ask you.
Oh, yeah. Prince Apophis is awesome. Most people are like super in love with him, in that they like the character concept. Prince Apophis is the Scarab Prince. So he is a cursed tomb prince who, in life, he was just complete asshole, total shit. He was basically a individual who decided that he wanted to ascend to the throne much sooner than he was allowed to. And well, actually, I don't think he was actually even going to get the throne, but he really wanted the throne. So instead of just, waiting or not being horrible, he decided to commit patricide and fratricide, and he murdered the entire royal family. So all of his siblings and his parents.
Awesome.
And was like, cool, I'm king now. But that is, of course, the most horrible, awful, just terrible sin you can possibly commit as far as the Nehekarans are concerned. So he ended up getting the people rebelled against him, and they killed him, and they put his body through a really horrible punishment where
is it like in The Mummy when the guy gets buried?
It's very heavily.
Okay. I see, gotcha.
Yeah, all that was left of him was like his skull, which was carved with a rune of being cursed, and they like threw his body out in the desert. So Prince Apophis goes into the underworld, and he's like, well, this is not what I wanted. This was terrible. And he gets approached by the god of the underworld, Usirian, who's supposed to judge him. And Prince Apophis looks up at Usirian, who's come to judge him for his misdeeds and is about to condemn him to the depths of the Nehekarn underworld, where his body will be endlessly devoured by the hounds of the underworld, which are super badass looking creatures, and for eternity. And because, you know, he's kind of a piece of shit. And he basically says to Usirian, wait, I should not be held accountable for my crimes, and I should be allowed to get a jail out of free card because I'm royal. So like I should be allowed to find a way out of this. And Usirian kind of like pauses and is like, all right, what is your proposal for getting out of this? And Prince Apophis goes, what if instead of my soul going to hell for all of eternity, I instead what if hypothetically I were to find a soul who is equally as bad, like the weight is the same, because you know it's the whole like
because the scales
the scales, all that. So he goes, what if I were to find a soul that like is the same exact weight as mine, could they suffer in my stead? And Usirian says, okay, sure, bet. So he sends Prince Apophis back to the realm of the living, and he is and the way that he manifests back into the realm of the living is that he is a sentient swarm of flesh-devouring scarabs, vaguely in the shape of a man, that has his skull on the top with the big old rune carved on his head, on his forehead. And he is a literal living sentient swarm of scarabs, so he's completely essentially invincible, because you know if you try and stab him or do anything to him, it literally just kills some of the bugs and he just reforms. And his signature attack is that he has the sacrificial dagger that was used to kill him, and like do everything to him that they did to him when he died. So he uses the dagger to find people that he thinks will be a equivalent exchange, and he kills them, and then he takes their souls down to the afterworld, or to the Nehekarn underworld, to be weighed against his soul to see if he has successfully accomplished his mission. But what he doesn't know is that, because Usirian didn't tell him, is that no matter what he does, no matter who he kills or how hard he tries, no two souls are equal, no matter what. So he's eternally damned, and he doesn't know that.
Oh my god.
So he's just running around murdering people and bringing them down to the underworld, trying to escape from damnation, and he never will.
Oh man,
which is
this
great.
Is why, it's great for everybody else because, well, not for the people that he kills because of that.
But not so much for them. But the Two Kings get a really cool character out of it, and his like signature move is that he literally sneaks up behind people. So like they'll be fighting on a battlefield or minding their own business, and all of a sudden they just hear buzzing, and then you'll just see this swarm of scarabs start assembling itself with a skull on top. And when people try to fight or protect the person that he's fighting, his jaw will unhinge and go all the way down, and he just vomits a swarm of flesh-eating bugs that just eat the flesh off of everybody in front of him.
Great. Yeah,
he's delightful.
He is only killing evil people mostly, though? I guess, yeah, he is. No, because you have to remember, it's Apophis. He's horrible. So in his mind, he doesn't just go like, sometimes he goes after bad people, but a lot of the time, because you have to remember, he takes people in, and Usirian will always tell him, no, this soul isn't equal to yours. So he's always trying different ideas.
So sometimes he'll see like a great hero leading an army and he'll go, well, I'm a great hero. I'm like a great guy. I'm awesome. And that dude's like super awesome and amazing and stuff, and people love him. So if I kill him, surely his soul will be equal or worthy to mine. He doesn't understand. You have to understand that Prince Apophis does not understand the rules by the game he is playing. He has his own assumptions that he's taking into it that are completely wrong, but there's nobody to tell him that he's doing it completely wrong.
Yeah, makes sense.
So yeah, no, he does not kill just like he's killed a lot of like really well beloved people. Like there was an incident where during the Crusades into Araby to fight Sultan Jafar, there was an incident where there was I think it was a Bretonnian duke. It was either a Bretonnian duke or it was a Grand Master of one of the knightly orders, but I think it was a group of Bretonnians that they were there like fighting the good fight, there to stop the horrible evil Sultan Jafar and save a bunch of people and yada yada. And this guy was like a great hero and a great leader. And as he's like fighting in a battle and is doing all this cool stuff, Apophis quite literally manifests behind him, and a bunch of people are like, holy shit, and start attacking Apophis, and he vomits all over them to scatter everybody, and then he just slits the dude's throat and kills him and runs off with his soul. And so the Bretonnians are like, ah! And this leads to them declaring like a new errantry war against Nehekara, and they end up running in there and fighting a bunch of Tomb Kings who had nothing to do with it.
Oh god.
No idea why these Bretonnians are attacking them.
Yeah.
Apophis is like the worst kind of scavenger. Like he just kills people that he's like, oh, this person seems vaguely important.
I mean, if only you could like direct him, he'd be such a powerful tool in war. But yeah, man's probably out for his own and trying to find a soul like him fit.
There have been characters who tried. Yeah, like there was during the end times, the Skaven tried to use Apophis.
What, the Skaven? Oh yeah. Of all the crazy ideas, oh, well, of course it'd be Skaven. Yeah, never mind. Oh.
I assume cutscene. You want to watch the cutscene?
Yeah, I could skip it. No worries. If I can.
I don't know if we'll be able to in a co-op campaign.
I've been pressing escape. That usually works,
then
but
the answer is no. We just have to enjoy Oxyotl's magnificent speeches.
Usirian does direct him sometimes? Oh, okay.
Sometimes, well, yeah. I mean, sometimes Usirian will say like, "Oh, so and so might be a good idea." Never is, but.
Hey, bro, you might want to check over there. His soul seems pretty evil.
Yeah, the Skaven actually stole the most, like flat out, the most powerful weapon the Tomb Kings have, which is called the Destroyer of Eternities, and they put it in Apophis' tomb. Oh, it is. It's one of the weapons that it doesn't matter what setting you put it in, it's like fucking terrifying, because the Destroyer of Eternities deletes your like actual soul. It doesn't just kill you, like it wipes your soul, winks your soul out of existence, which means that it's so powerful that it could perma-kill demons, which is very difficult to do.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
And the Nehekarans rightfully invented it, figured out what it was capable of, and went, we should never use this ever. This thing is terrifying.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, yeah.
Let us throw it in the dumpster and leave it there for all of eternity. But because eventually one of them figured out, the Skaven kind of figured out almost simultaneously with Grand Hierophant Kotep that if you were to use it to kill Nagash, it would kill Nagash, like flat out, dead forever, gone, never to be seen again. But unfortunately, in the time it takes them to figure this out and then get the blade to where Nagash is and stab him with it, because Prince Apophis, to his credit, does manage to sneak up on Nagash and impale him through the back with the sword. But unfortunately, doing so, it was too late, because by that point, Nagash had already devoured Usirian, the god of the underworld, and was too powerful. So instead of the blade killing him, it just kind of hurts him a little bit. But then he just turns around and he perma-kills Apophis.
Oh, dang.
For this fight, it's usually best to come at from
Do you want to concentrate first? Okay.
Yeah, because it just forces them to funnel all the way up to us, and then we can kill the mammoth really fast.
Yeah,
and it just forces them down a big funnel, essentially.
Gotcha. Position you guys here. All right, cool beans. Boop. Right,
you got some Razordons. I love Razordons.
Yeah, Razordons are really, really cool.
I'm very, very sad that they got discontinued by GW.
Oh, dang. On the tabletop?
But they're, yeah, because we got a new Salamander model, but the Razordon is an alternate kit, essentially. So it was when you would buy the Salamander kit, you could either build them as Salamanders or Razordons. But then when Games Workshop put out the new Salamander kit, it's Salamander exclusive, unfortunately.
I see.
Which was very sad.
Really cool.
Because I really liked them. Because the whole concept of that, the way they shoot their spikes is like, you expect it to be like, oh, they like flick their tail and it shoots the spike out, which is kind of how they portray in Total War. But like when you read the lore, it's like, no, they angle like their tail or their back towards you, and then they have such violent muscle spasms that it just causes all these spikes to just like spontaneously launch outwards, which is hilarious, and I love it.
Okay. My Razordons in position? Okay, yeah, they're doing work. Just the monstrous artillery for the Lizardmen are so cool.
Yeah, they are. But the Razordons are also really nice in Total War because the version we had of them, the metal kit, was pretty old and it didn't look super great. Like the model, it was a pretty busy model, so the details were kind of hard to see and it just didn't look super great. And the Total War really made them look super duper nice. It's like, oh, these are actually like really freaking cool to look at now.
Is that mammoth running away?
Oh yeah, he's broken.
Can they escape this map? I don't think they can. Okay. Okay, yeah, this is just a super simple cleanup. Actually, does anyone have any missions to do?
Oh yeah, we're about to do his.
Okay, Roger.
Here very shortly.
I remember this mission being quite easy, so I was like, yeah.
His is for the plaque of Sotek.
Oh, the thing that he holds and walks around with his art, I see.
That I have made fun of CA many times for because the way he holds it is so weird.
Well, how so?
Well, like I'll show you the next time we go into a battle with them, because like they designed it odd in that he should be holding it where like either it should either be tucked into his arm, like like imagine you're holding a giant stone tablet, right? You'd want to brace it so that it's like against your arm and kind of against your chest. But the way they designed Tin Hanowin's model was they designed it where he's only holding it suspended with just the palm of his hand. So like that's it. Like it's not leaned against his body at all. He's literally just holding it suspended in the air, even though it's made of fucking stone and it's like half his size.
I mean,
and it's like, how is his wrist? Yeah, apparently. It's like, how has his wrist not snapped in half as he's trying to like balance and carry this thing around? They don't appreciate that I bring it up on a regular basis.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, there's still that wizard in the back there. I see.
Yeah, I'm on him. The Pak cohort's gonna make quick work of that nerd.
I've never tried to pronounce any of these names. Pak. What is this supposed to be a reference to? Pak.
Yeah, they're just look at them and go, that looks like it probably is pronounced in a really stupid way, and you're correct. Whatever stupid thing comes out of your mouth is gonna be right on the money.
I see. Okay. Itsy bitsy, yeah, I believe.
Hey, we don't slander the good name of Itsy Bitsy. He's actually in the game. He's a starting hero for Tic-Tac-Toe.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did play Tic-Tac-Toe's campaign on my own, and we did have Itsy Bitsy there.
Yeah,
although
Tic-Tac-Toe's busted. He's so good.
He does a lot of heckin' damage. Yeah. A
lot of people do not give the respect on his name that he deserves. His pterodons are terrifying.
Those rocks do a lot of damage. I can't believe that simply dropping a rock on somebody would do that much damage, but then I remember that Be'lakor got done in by them.
I sent you the Be'lakor meme. Screeching, rocks dropping.
What are these rocks made out of?
For anyone that hasn't played a Tic-Tac-Toe campaign, his campaign faction buff is that his regular Pterodon riders, so all of his Pterodon riders can drop 2 rocks instead of just 1. But the secondary rocks they drop not only deal way more damage, but have a secondary effect. So the regular Pterodons that throw javelins, when they drop the secondary rocks, those rocks are armor sundering. So not only do they just like pretty much ignore armor, but they like delete armor off of units for like 30 seconds or something. Which then if you follow up with the regular rocks means that the AI that you're dropping rocks on won't have any armor to protect them from the damage. So it just deletes them off the face of the earth. It also does explosion damage. Meanwhile, wow, my brain just like stopped working there for a second. The fire leech bolas drop explosive rocks that give the flammable quality, which means that any fire damage they take does like 50% more damage or something like that. So it makes their fire leech bolas just hit like way harder.
Oh my god, of course.
All right, let's go. Do I want to do this quest battle now? Let's see, do I have all my buffs active?
No.
No, I don't. So I don't want to do it yet because I need more sacrifices. Because I am going to need the one that lets me spawn swarms wherever I want.
How impactful would you say is Tehenuan's kind of sacrifices to your campaign?
Oh, it's like the whole point. But it's very fun. Like Tehenuan, especially when you get to the higher tier sacrifices, Tehenuan gets so hilariously bloated, like as far as like the war crimes he's capable of, that it's absolutely obscene. Like if you're like, him and Oxiodal are very similar in that they both take skinks and they make them just horrifically, like just god tier, but they do it in different ways, where Tehenuan does it through melee buffs, whereas Oxiodal does it through shooting buffs. But Tehenuan, the thing about Tehenuan's sacrifices is that they're faction-wide buffs that get just absolutely grotesque really, really fast. Where it's like you're giving all armies across the world ridiculous buffs to like casualty replenishment, armor, leadership. You get the ability to just use like the Bastillodon Jungle Swarm ability, but it's an army ability, so you can throw it anywhere on the battlefield that you want. If you get up to the max tier sacrifices, you can literally summon an aspect of Sotek onto the battlefield that'll just instantly delete shit off the face of the earth. Oh, that's actually really funny. The the Tehenuan campaign. I'll have to play single player and see if it's bugged on single player as well. But I am accomplishing things that I should not be able to accomplish, which is really funny. Like,
what happened?
Normally it's like, oh, you need to have like this really powerful buff, or you need to take like 3 provinces worth of territory. In my game, I think because we're playing multiplayer, it's like, you have 52 provinces, so you've done it.
What?
Here we go. We got Lodal Bodal Spawn Brother. The other thing that Tanawin could do that I love a lot is he can spawn banners and ancillaries in exchange for sacrifices, but his are unique. So like Lodal Bodal Spawn Brother, Lodal Bodal Spawn Brother gives you minus 20% upkeep for the entire army, which is
what?
Insane.
On an item? Oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah, an ancillary. Yeah, it's
ancillary,
super duper gross. Or like Obstinate Skink Miner. For every one of these you have, you get minus 15% construction cost for all buildings faction wide. Wild.
Oh yeah, faction wide. Like
Genuine is legitimately like one of the most OP characters in the game, but a lot of people don't realize it. And granted, you have to work for it, and you also have to do some like RNG pulls.
Yeah, the only thing I know from the Genuine's kind of mechanics and stuff was back during the reviews for Warhammer 2, which apparently it wasn't very good.
Oh no,
from most of the reviews
they
I
were
saw.
terrible. They got big time busts.
Okay, cool. Right. Also, how does this objective work for us since we're both playing Lizardman? Like the Lord Croak quest? Can the both of us do that and get Lord Croak? Double Lord Croak?
If I recall correctly, it's whichever one of us does it first.
I see. Gotcha.
But I believe only one of us can have him, if memory serves. But I have not done it in like a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, the Lord Croak thing, we just kind of, I don't know. We just stand there, the Skaven come in, they rout because of terror, then we just win. It's super simple, too. But the Gorok one? Oh my god, the Gorok mission that you have to do, that is insane.
Yeah, where you have to fight alongside Nakai. Yeah.
Yeah. They all want to go in and die on the road, and you can't do anything about it. You have to rush over there to save their asses. Oh,
yeah,
god.
there was so just random fun story for you of that. The original version of the Croak quest was so much harder. It was like brutally difficult, the original version.
Like how so? Was it that much different from what you usually play here?
Yeah, well, so instead of it being, so the current version is like, I think the first wave is like clan rats and like some clan Eshin stuff. And stuff like that. And the original version was that they ended up getting rid of. Was that it was you would fight a large army of purely it was a large army of purely storm vermin backed up with clan Eshin stuff, and then the second army would be nothing but elite units from clan Skarier. So like war machines and all this other stuff, and then the third wave was another giant stack of like pretty much nothing but storm vermin. And
Dang.
It was bullshit. Like, it was so fucking hard. That they tried running with that version, and they had some people like test, like play testers and stuff for testing it out. And the people that they had like casually kind of playing the game just couldn't beat it. Like, they just couldn't. Even if they had a good 20 stack, they still couldn't beat it because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Of just like all of the characters were just like nightmarishly strong. And it was just so many Skaven to deal with. Because the original version was very much designed with the intent that what you were supposed to do was kind of retreat and wait for Lord Croak to show up with all of his Temple Guard, and then just keep Lord Croak alive. But the problem is that it took Lord Croak such a long time to spawn, and the Skaven showed up with a lot of war machines that would shoot from really long range. And so what a lot of players do is that they press forward aggressively, which wasn't what you were supposed to do. And so the quest was like super punishing to people that were playing aggressively. And they ended up realizing that it just wasn't good design because like people were doing what felt natural to them and it was just causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, okay, I see. Well, I mean, when you put the artillery there, the natural instinct is obviously to get in close because, yeah. Like,
yeah. And they made the right decision to tone it down. Because, like, you know, ultimately making sure that the game is fun is the most important thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And getting new players into it.
There have been a multitude of times where they've like come up with a concept and they're like, oh, this could be like a good time, and people play and they're like, this is not enjoyable. It's just like it might be lore accurate or it might be difficult, but like, is it fun? And if the answer is no, then probably should do something else.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
That being said, there are definitely times where I wish they would make the game a little more difficult from time to time, but like I wish the Obligated campaign had more like substantial penalties.
Oh, for the XCOM missions, yeah.
Yeah, for the XCOM stuff. Like a lot of people wish it was a little more difficult, but I understand that like, you know, there's a fair number of players who would probably struggle if they made it have more difficulty stuff, but I think that's okay. I think sub campaigns should just be hard as balls. But like I think if every race could get one legendary lord whose campaign is designed to just be super fucking difficult, I think that'd be fun.
Actually, yeah, having a variety of difficulties as well as different mechanics for each lord, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like though, when it comes to Immortal Empires, once you get near like short campaign victory, you kind of just snowball the entire game after that.
Oh yeah, and that's why you'd have to make like the early game, like, you know, the really difficult aspect.
Yeah, a little more interesting because that's usually where all the strategy and really like, I don't know, just good management of your empire comes into play. Because, yeah, every single game I played past that was just Doomstack auto-resolving everything.
Yep, that is what a lot of people fall into. And that's usually why the vast majority of players have not finished, like, as far as Steam achievements are concerned, have not finished campaigns. Because they get to the point where they're just kind of auto-resolving all their fights, and it's like, I'd rather start a new campaign.
Clan Eshin is actually a hard campaign if you don't immediately run south. I've heard this. I don't really know.
Clan Eshin can be a pretty difficult one. I haven't played Tretch in a long time, but I wonder if the Chaos Dwarfs make Tretch's campaign notably harder.
Oh. What the? Oh, it's an ambush for these armies because I had the Sanctum up. I see. Well, I think I'm just gonna auto-resolve that and be done with it. At least do some damage to them.
Yep.
Oh my god, that's not just some damage. Jesus Christ. Okay. I never gotten that off before, so I was kind of surprised. Like, what army is this? Okay.
Free lizards.
Well, I guess I stopped at invasion.
All right, let's check to see how this is looking. That is acceptable losses.
Ah, you were encircling a city.
Yep.
Gildane's. Oh, what? Oh, well, that's kind of a cheat. Because I got the ambush off, I got the mission for recruiting an additional lord without recruiting an additional lord. Okay.
Oh, that son of a bitch. Ah, that explains what's happening. That is not
Oh, what's going on?
Okay. I did not realize that Zinch had inflicted me with the debuff
the
where I'm
attrition.
I'm taking attrition damage.
Ah, fuck.
Yeah,
dude.
so I'm like, why am I hate that ability so much.
Same.
So annoying.
It always comes in at the like most inopportune moments too. Like freaking Zinch.
Yeah, so I've got like this angry Skaven army chasing me, and my lizardmen are like super beat up, which is not great.
Actually, what I could do is put a sanctum in a city near you, and
that'd be good.
just beam down. Where should I put it?
I would probably put it in Oaksiel.
Oaksiel? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like right smack in the middle.
There we go. I mean, I know Gorok is here to at least provide some assistance, maybe, but...
Yeah, sure. I think he's more likely to just kind of like watch from a distance and be like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Gorok's too much of a Giga Chad to get his own hands dirty, I suppose.
He's like, man, I bet they sure would like some help over there. And the Salon's just like, are you gonna help? And he's like, no. Why would I?
Okay.
Oh, I need to change my commandment so I can build buildings faster.
You want me to ask Sotek about the Great War against Chaos? I feel like that's a very broad subject. Anything specific?
I mean, yeah, it's just essentially Warhammer's version of like World War I.
Ah, I see. Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense for Warhammer.
Awesome line source. All factions should be like the Empire is now. Every lord you play is a completely different campaign. Some being harder than others is fine. For instance, Clan Anger for the dwarfs. Question for both. Am I hyped? Are we hyped for the Skull event in the next DLC? I mean, yeah. More stuff. I do like having more toys.
I only just learned about it from Sotek when we were testing out the VPN and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to experiencing my first Skulls event. Oh.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be something cool. Yeah, I think ideally it would be nice if every campaign like has a good unique mechanic to it. I don't know if that will end up being what we get, because there are some factions where that would require a significant amount of overhaul. Because some of the factions just really don't have anything going for them as far as like truly unique different mechanics. And to do so would probably take a significant amount of dev work, which I don't know if we're going to get that.
I did ask him about it, Hammond, but
I do think that
Sotek didn't know what I was talking about.
As long as they're all fun, I think that's the most important thing.
Can you provide more detail?
Like, are all the Tomb King campaigns going to end up being different from each other, and all the Vampire Coast campaigns going to end up being different from each other? I don't think so. I think those are going to all remain pretty much the same, with like very minor little differences between them. You know, you can always hope.
Okay. Deathmaster Snicketch, your army isn't that scary. Can I reach you this turn? Please tell me I can. Okay, nice. I've always taken to auto-resolving these underway battles because I got a bugged battle once where the lords were in an area I couldn't get to.
Huh. Oh, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, everybody in chat has never seen that before. They place all their lords and their heroes on like the side path, on the stone path, and it's like an area you can't go to.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I didn't have any ranged units to kill them, so we just had to like retreat, lose the battle. Like an L.
Yeah, it's always sucks when that happens. But yeah, for those that haven't heard, next week, I think it's on the 24th, there's an event called Skulls, which is like Skulls for the Skull Throne, and it's an event that Games Workshop hosts once a year in May-ish time, where they basically show off all the major things happening in the video game sphere for Warhammer stuff. So, and pretty much all the companies that show up, if the game is already out, Games Workshop usually kind of like pays them some money or encourages them to add a feature, just like a little something as like a free update to the game that revolves around skulls in some fashion. So Creative Assembly has done something pretty much every year for that. And that's how we've gotten a lot of like fun little additions to the game. So like the Black Orc Big Boss, the generic hero, for the greenskins, we got that I think 2 years ago. Last year we got Harry the Hammer, or Harold Hammerstorm, who is a legendary hero for the Warriors of Chaos. A few years ago we got the Bone Giant for the Tomb Kings. That was a bonus creature we got, which was pretty cool. Frickin' Luther Harkin. Trying to remember what the other ones were. I want to say there was a vampire thing we got one year, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was Isabella von Karstein, I think, something like that. But we've gotten a whole bunch of them.
Wolfie,
and like
demanding money from me? Fuck you. No. Okay.
I'm on the opposite side of the planet. Pay me money or I'll declare war.
Oh, he's got to take my one little city that I forgot to abandon over there. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh yeah, I think the Arachnarok Spider Shrine for the Goblin Great Shaman is. I know that was an FLC. I don't remember if that was a Skulls event or if that was something else, but yeah. So it'll be exciting to see what we get this year. There's a lot of things it could be, and I hope we get something cool.
Yeah. Oh, the previous question I had asked from Hammond's super chat about First Edition Hero Quest. There used to be Warhammer locations in Hero Quest because GW used to co-produce Hero Quest. Wondering if he had inside stories. I don't know.
I unfortunately don't have any. I bet Andy Law would. Andy Law would be a good person to ask that, I think.
Okay, cool beans.
I myself am unaware of anything that I would consider significant or particularly interesting. I'm sorry to say.
Oh, god damn it, Zeech! Not the mutagenic energies. Ah.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Okay.
The AI is very fond of slapping the player with that on a very regular basis.
Love that. Love Flaming Chicken Man. Okay, what are your armies doing? Actually, I feel like I should eradicate him at some point soon, or else he's just gonna keep bugging me.
Oh yeah, killing Zinch is always a good thing. No more bullshit schemes.
Yeah. Just randomly, like, you can be all the way in his territory, and then he's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna steal this one city all the way in the middle of your territory, where you have no armies defending.
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
can
gonna
tell
build
him
an army there.
You can tell him to justice plan these nuts and just slap him in the face.
Yeah. One second, let me go and abandon that settlement. Wolfrickety seems very, very mad.
I will say though, I think we can say with confidence that the VPN works great. This is so much better than last time.
Yeah. We're actually getting somewhere. Hammond. Ask about not safe for work beastmen sculpts? Oh no! I don't know if I want to go into that world.
I mean, honestly, I feel like he's referencing something specific, but I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at all in the slightest. I mean, have you seen 3D printed communities these days? Actually, I know a bunch of professional painters, and there's one. She's very funny. There's a girl I know who's a professional painter who'll do like these absolutely amazing, gorgeous like Lizardman commissions or whatever, like these really cool Warhammer Fantasy commissions and stuff. And then like the next week she'll be like, yeah, horny time. And it's just like this completely nude barbarian woman model. And she's just like, I'm gonna paint some boobies for a week. And you're like, cool.
Cool. I can respect that.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy, babe.
Well, Aaron, I'm pretty sure everybody knows how Grom gets his Centigore milk. Even I know.
Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. You ever thought of it that way?
Maybe the world will be better off never knowing how Grom gets his Centaur milk.
How expensive is getting professional paint on your minis? Is it like doubling the cost? It depends. It depends on, like, there's a lot of factors. It depends on like what's the quality you want on the paint job, how many minis, how big they are. Are you building them and then they're just painting them, or do you want them to build and paint them? There's a lot of different aspects that go into it, but I would say if you're looking for like a pretty, like a really nice paint job, not like presentation tier, but like a really good cohesive unit or monster, and you want them to assemble it, so you just like send them the kit, or they buy the kit themselves and you just, you know, pay them back and then they do all this stuff. At least like if like a unit of 10 guys could easily run you like $500 to $600. A monster
Jesus.
could run you somewhere between $400 to $600. It's always going to be in the hundreds. That being said, it just depends. Like, I know someone that, like, for a unit of Saurus, I think it'd be like somewhere between $16 to $24 per Saurus. So you're looking at, you know, with 10 of them, like $240 or something along those lines. But it just depends. Like, some people you could get way cheaper. But usually it'll come back to bite you in other ways. Like, my buddy Palooka, who's Palooka Paints on Twitch, he's a god tier painter. I have a ton of stuff I've commissioned from him, and his commission rates are very reasonable. Like, they're super affordable. But the bad news is that he lives down South America, so the shipping is pretty expensive, because you have to like make sure that all the models are like properly protected and like insulated and everything, so that they don't get damaged via travel. And it's just a long way to ship a usually pretty large
Roger
package.
that, Cobalt.
So the shipping is going to be pretty damn expensive. So, because often, like, not in a bad way, but like if your goal is to be strategic and try to save money, you know, if you consider where you live and consider what the currency exchange rate is going to be with other places, then you can frankly save money by trying to hire painters who live in nations where like their currency trades favorably into yours. But once again, that's usually going to come at the cost of that you're probably going to be shipping halfway across the world a lot of the time. And you know, it just depends what all you're looking for and what your parameters are.
Necromancer Kobold wants to know about Epidemius, Nurgle's favorite grumpy bureaucrat. What's the lore around him?
So Epidemius is one of the 7 Tally Lords of Grandfather Nurgle. He's one of the Grand
Tally Lords? What are Tally Lords?
Tallymen. Yeah, so like he tallies all of the plagues of Grandfather Nurgle. So his job is to count and record every single disease in existence and all of its effects and mutations and alterations. Which, if you know anything about like sickness, you will probably very quickly realize that his job is literally impossible, because how a disease manifests in a person will change a lot depending on various factors, like how healthy that person is, how old that person is, what are the circumstances of that person's life growing up, what are their genetics, like continue ad infinitum. But Epidemius has to record all of it. So he is a bit of a grump that he's difficult to get along with, so to speak, because his job is literally impossible, and he's keeping track of numbers that are so unfathomably large that if you and I tried to do it, our brains would burst out of their skulls. And if somebody distracts him, it can cause him to lose the count, or like lose where he was on whatever it was he was doing. And if you make him lose his place, oh boy, that is why he very uniquely, well, A, he's not friendly, and B, he's notoriously sour, because his job is literally impossible, and if you're talking to him, there's a very high chance you're just interrupting what he's doing. And what you're saying, as far as he's concerned, is not important. To the extent that the Nurglings that hang out with him, which Nurglings are known for being little giggling goofballs that are just having a good time, his Nurglings are completely silent and are very serious.
Oh,
because
yeah, they know not to mess with him. Yeah.
Yeah, because if they goof off or they distract him, he will hurt them very badly. Like, he'll just destroy them or torture them for interrupting him. Because he has a hell of a temper.
Oh, man.
But yeah, he kind of has a thankless job, and it's literally endless, and he's keenly aware of that.
So that explains a lot about his design then. I was wondering, because he's like, he goes around in his little mobility chair, and like he looks at his little chart over there, which is probably him like recording all the plagues. And...
Yep.
I see.
Yep. And you really don't want to run into him on a battlefield, because his whole gimmick is that he wants to see you infected with diseases, and then if he gets his way, he would capture you and basically just infect you with stuff, and he would just sit there taking notes about how the diseases are ravaging your body until you eventually die.
Awesome.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, what if you're not lucky?
Well, if you're not lucky, if you're super unlucky, you'll probably get infected with Nurgle's Rot, which means that you're not going to die per se. You're going to be slowly but surely transmuted. Your soul is into a plague bearer. Plague bearers are plague victims. They are people who are infected with Nurgle's Rot, and the disease was so horrific that it literally forcefully mutates their soul into a demon. So you get to spend eternity suffering under Nurgle's leash.
I see. I always thought the plague bearers were just straight up demons from chaos.
Some of them are, but many of them are plague victims.
Do they still have memories of their previous life? Or
some do. But there's nothing they can do about it.
Now they just have to fight for Nurgle now. I see.
Yep. Oh yeah, well yeah, and the plague bearers are the base counters. Plague bearers count, so they walk across the battlefields and they are charged with paying attention and counting all of the different diseases and plagues they see, which is why Epidemius hangs out with them so much and they follow him around, is because they're counting and they're assisting in his counting all the time.
Oh, then Epidemius definitely gives buff to plague bearers then, yeah, in game.
Yeah, his whole thing is he makes your plague bearers nightmarish.
Okay. Oh, cool. All the lore mixing with the mechanics. Gotcha. Hammond asks, ask him if the time of darkness and disharmony in Cathay was just the Emperor and Empress painting minis. What?
So the time of darkness and disharmony is there was a period where the Celestial Dragon Emperor and the Moon Empress vanished. And they did not explain to their children where they went, and they just peaced out for, it was somewhere, I can't remember if it was 200 years or 400 years, but they just left without explanation, without warning. And so their children were just left to watch over the Empire, and having to like interpret what to do and handle any issues that came up and yada yada yada. And it led to a lot of strife and infighting and other issues. And it got so bad that it even culminated in the Monkey King taking advantage of all of the dragon children fighting one another. And he actually managed to successfully fight his way across the entirety of Grand Cathay and took the throne for himself. So he took the throne of Wei Jin. With the help of the Skaven, I might not add. The Skaven clan actually helped him out.
What? They're everywhere, man.
Yeah, they're just the best. And after he took over the throne, all the dragon kids went, "Oh shit!" and they set aside their differences and started fighting him. But even working together, the Monkey King is apparently so goddamn scary that they really were not. They were struggling. And right when things seemed like they were kind of reaching like the really bad final battle moment, that's when Mom and Dad came home. And this also coincided with the end of the Great War over in Kislev, where the Empire, the Elves, the Dwarves, and Kislev, and like everybody was punching chaos, and Azavar Kul, who was the Everchosen at the time, got killed. But that was when Mom and Dad came home, and when the Celestial Dragon Emperor started coming in, him and his wife, the Monkey King was like, I should go.
He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna mess with that.
I gotta, you know what? I got places to be. I got stuff I gotta do. I'm out.
I see. Well, how powerful are they in like lore wise?
They are borderline gods.
Okay.
They're not quite. There are some gods in the setting that are equal in power to them, or maybe even a little weaker than them, but they're not as powerful as like the Chaos gods. So like, you know, the Celestial Dragon Emperor could not 1v1 Khorne, but he probably could 1v1 like some not quite as powerful gods. But he's the two of them are ridiculously powerful.
Oh, okay. And do we as the readers ever learn why they left during that time?
Nope. We have no idea.
Just a
there
mystery.
There are little hints that it had something to do with. No, I don't want to fight that garrison. There are hints that it had something to do with the Emperor's plan, whatever he's up to. He's basically made his own version of the Great Plan. There's some kind of scheme that he's working towards in preparation for the end times. But we don't know what it is, but we know that his disappearance for a couple hundred years likely had a lot to do with it.
Oh, I was just randomly standing here. Okay, yeah, I'll decisive victory. Thanks.
Free money!
Yeah. Trying to invade my territory while I'm just standing here. Okay, interesting. Hammond also wants to know about the Polar Gate Titans, aka Sentinels of Law. I have no idea about this.
I hope Hammond is tipping for all of these questions.
Hammond is sending in $2 and $5 super chats like a madman. Jesus.
Okay, as long as he's not getting these for free. That's the important thing. What was the question?
What the hell? How many schemes of doom? I've never seen that before.
All of the Skaven doomed at the exact same time. Clan Pestilence, Clan Rictus, Clan Scryer, and Clan Mulder.
Oh my god.
And Clan Moors have all declared doom. Doom for everyone. Yeah, I see the Warlock Engineer right over here.
Money is temporary, but doom is eternal, said the Skaven. Oh, should upgrade. But yes, about Polar Gate Titans. What are they? Do they have something to do with the Chaos
Titans?
Yeah.
That don't ring a bell for me.
Sentinels of Law?
The Sentinels of Law is some really old stuff. Those would... Oh, okay, that's back with the Gods of Law. That is old stuff.
I see.
Super old. I would not say that's canon anymore. If... So, essentially, they... Yeah, those would kind of be like almost greater demon equivalents. So, way back, in the early days of Warhammer Fantasy, like around like 3rd edition to 1st edition type ballparks, Chaos was not... There were two sides to the coin. There were the Gods of Law and the Gods of Chaos. And they were enemies, and they were also, I think, just stolen completely and utterly straight from Michael Moorcock, who the vast majority of Chaos is just directly ripped from. but it has, the Chaos of Warhammer Fantasy has eventually evolved into its own thing, but the Gods of Law got thrown in the trash. They still kind of sort of exist according to some little tidbits, but they're very few in number, and what they are exactly is very mysterious. There are some that believe that the Gods of Law were simply the old ones. Others say that no, they are like the gods of, there are some ancient gods of Talea or some other random little aspects. But because they have not been talked about in decades, it's difficult to translate them to modern Warhammer Fantasy because they don't fit into it very nicely.
Gotcha. Well, one thing that I did learn about Warhammer Fantasy is the fact that there's just so many different gods. I never realized, since I initially got into Warhammer through 40k, and I know that there are also multiple gods there, depending on like which faction you go into. But I've only ever heard about the 4 big ones. Are any of the minor gods like should be learned about or are important to the lore?
Technically, is that the Vermin Doom I've heard so much about recently? Yes, of course. Didn't you see how much vermin and dooming there was? Yeah.
And
Saurus, thank you very much for the bits. I appreciate it. So the minor gods that are critical are the Great Horned Rat, Hashut, and then your gods that are not technically minor gods, but they're just from the non-chaos pantheon, like the Pantheon of the Empire, the Lady of the Lake, the new gods and the old gods, which so the Empire has 2 sets of gods, which are the classical gods and the old gods. And the old gods are
Roger that, Lich. I see.
Like Ulrich, Tal, Raya. So they tend to be gods of more like nature concepts. And then the classical gods are like kind of new age gods, by which they mean the southern gods. So that's where you get like Shalia, the goddess of healing and mercy, Myrmidia, the goddess of battle and strategy, Verena, the goddess of law and like justice, though more accurately law. And they all cover kind of like different aspects. I mean, technically, if you want to get really technical, Warhammer Fantasy has like thousands of gods. But the important ones, you could probably get away with narrowing it down to like 25 to 30-ish. Because it's like you got the Elven Pantheon, the Dwarf Pantheon, the Human Pantheon, which a lot of them have their own unique individuals that get inserted. Like the Lady of the Lake is obviously unique to Bretonnia. Sigmar is unique to the Empire. And then you got like, you know, the Kislevite Pantheon with the Great Orthodoxy. You got the old ones and Sotek for the Lizardmen. And it just kind of keeps going. That being said, like it just depends on what part of the lore you're like, oh, I want to learn about like this concept, because you know, they become more or less important depending on what angle you're looking at. Because if you're just dealing with chaos, for instance, then no, you really only need to know about the big 4, the Great Horned Rat, and Hashut. Like when it comes to chaos, that's pretty much it. You know, every once in a while you'll have somebody that'll come out and be like, oh, what about like Zuvacin or Malal? And it's like, shut up, nobody cares. Like those are too minor that you shouldn't worry about them. But so yeah,
I never heard of Zuvacin before, but people have been telling me about Malal ever since I got into 40k. It was something to do with copyright.
Zuvacin is like insanely minor. Like even from an in-universe perspective, he's insanely minor.
I see.
What's my opinion of the Screaming Godchild? I think he's completely irrelevant because he literally only showed up for a comic book and that was it. And
what is a Screaming Godchild?
He's literally that. He was a chaos god that was introduced in the Malice Darkblade comic book series, which is did not sell super great and is not very well known. But every once in a while you'll have some random ass YouTuber who will come make a video and be like, this thing should be put in the game, and act like it's actually important to the setting, and it's not at all.
Dang. Random ass YouTubers in shambles. Oh god.
Yep. Yeah, they know who they are.
What's the situation? Oh, again, Luther Harkin. Luther Harkin, he tried to take something from a Lizardman City, yeah? But then he got...
Yes.
His personality got split because he messed with something he shouldn't have.
Yeah, he basically triggered a trap that the Lizardmen had left behind to... There was a like an abandoned temple city that he thought was just like completely defenseless. He could just walk in, no problem, and loot it, which he had done a bunch up and down the Lustrian coast. But when he turned his attention to the when he turns his attention to this particular one, it was not as like dead and empty and just waiting for him to come plunder it as he thought it was, and its defenses were still activated. So when he first arrives, he tries to send like a bunch of zombies in, and they pass by a set of wards that when the wards activate, it causes the undead to just like fall apart, because it basically disbands it basically pulls apart the magic that animates them. So he finally gets so frustrated that, being a fairly good wizard himself, he decides to magically force his way through this barrier to just like break it. And in the process of doing so, he basically triggers essentially a trap and a bit of a feedback that blasts him. And what it essentially did is that it severed him from the winds of magic in a really weird way, where most vampires, or just entities, just kind of exist, and magic can interact with them or not as it does. It's just kind of like a natural force, so to speak, that you have to deal with in Warhammer Fantasy. But when Harkin got blasted, it basically turned his soul into like a vacuum, like a black hole for magic. So he just absorbs magic around him, and magic cannot really affect him or touch him. Like it would essentially look like it just bounces off of him. Like you'd throw a fireball at him, and instead of hitting him and exploding, the fireball would get close to him and then just get like sucked into him, and he'd be totally fine. But vampires feed off of magic. They have to. Like the reason they feed on blood is because the blood essentially allows them to... They feed off the magic that is kind of inherently within the blood of living things in order to keep themselves going. It feeds them in a magical sense. But there are some vampires that figured out that you don't even have to drink blood if you really don't want to. You can just feed off dark magic. It just comes with some side effects because you don't get all the goody gribblies that the blood has.
The nutrients.
You don't get... Yeah, you get... You know, it's kind of like if you only ate potatoes. Like, yeah, you would technically survive, but you're not going to look great, but you'll live. And when Harkin did that, he got super messed up, because not only was his relationship with magic essentially completely severed, but also being a fairly magical entity in and of himself, his mind just got absolutely torn to shreds. So he has severe dissociative identity disorder, where Harkin has like dozens of personalities that are all constantly fighting one another to be the preeminent personality that gets to be in charge, which makes Harkin pretty batshit crazy. And he talks to himself a lot because he's talking to different versions of himself about various things. But the fact that he just kind of sucks magic in around him, he is a bit of a bizarre entity in that he just sort of animates all of the corpses around him, and still is able to direct them and things like that. But he's not all there anymore. He is definitely struggling, and he's been completely insane ever since. Total War Warhammer, of course, runs with a storyline of, well, what if Harkin theoretically was able to put himself back together by pursuing like certain artifacts and doing all this other stuff. So you get to play through a campaign of doing that and trying to put Harkin back together again. And if you succeed, you get some absolutely mind-bendingly powerful buffs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't played any of Vampire Coast yet, but that would be kind of interesting.
Vampire Coast is super duper fun.
Oh, heck yeah. Okay. So he needs magic, but he walks around with a black hole that sucks all magic. So I guess it... Oh, absolutely no side effects, I'm sure.
He's still getting it, from what we can tell. But his control over magic is pretty much non-existent, other than just seemingly being able to animate corpses. But even then, it's depending on which writer is writing about Harkin. Some writers will say that Harkin cannot control like what corpses he raises. Instead, he's like practically just like a fulcrum that as he walks around, he just resurrects all of the dead around him constantly, which allows him to have like insanely large armies of the undead that should be beyond him, but aren't because of his bizarre affliction. Other authors will say, I think in the original White Dwarf, it talks more about that he can actively raise and control corpses, but that's like all he can do. Whereas, you know, regular vampires can use a lot of magic. Like, pretty much all vampires are relatively nasty wizards. Not all of them, though. Like, the blood dragons are notoriously garbage at magic.
Blood dragons? Is that like a specific faction?
That's one of the 5 bloodlines, or 5 really famous bloodlines. So the vampires are split up into bloodlines based on their founder. Because vampires all came... The vampires of Warhammer Fantasy, to be what is technically understood as the vampire, all originate from Lamia, a city in Nehekara, where Neferata, the first vampire, and basically founded them by creating an elixir that granted them all immortality and a bunch of like power and all this other crazy stuff. But it comes at the cost that they have to constantly feed themselves on blood, or as some of them discovered later, at least just dark magic. And they're of her original elixir of immortal life, which hers was quote unquote flawed, because Nagash's version, Nagash also made an elixir of immortal life, but Neferata was trying to copy it. She made her own version essentially that she was attempting to copy, and her version, or Nagash's version, made it where you were immortal. Approach a friend and make like if somebody killed you and your body died, it was a minor inconvenience. You could, as long as there was like enough magic around and stuff like that, you would always come back sooner or later. Neferata's version made you immortal, but it required you to feed on blood, so you had a dependency problem. And many vampires also came with pretty severe flaws for like their personalities or other aspects. And that original elixir was only created a single time because there was something about it that apparently they were only able to do it once, I guess. And of the original elixir, 7 individuals were given it. And those 7 were founding vampires who went on to create entire bloodlines. So when you're talking about a vampire, their founder, like who they tie back to lineage-wise, like whoever gave them the blood kiss, you track it back like you would a genealogy tree. To the founder, and that will often determine many of the traits of their vampirism. So like Lamians tend to be women, but they're always very gifted at, they're often very gifted at stealth, diplomacy, using shadow magic, transforming into cats, or will have like a very strong affiliation with cats. and stuff like that. The von Karsteins are all descended from Vlad von Karstein. They have a strong affiliation with wolves and bats, and some of like a lot of those tends elements, and they tend to have a much more balanced relationship between martial prowess and magic. The Lamians are really famously noted for being like super duper freaking fast. Like they're often the swiftest of vampires. The Necrarchs are by far the most magically gifted. They're the most powerful sorcerers by far, but they're also hideously ugly because they don't tend to feed on blood very often and prefer to just feed on dark magic. So they're like really, really nasty looking, very Nosferatu type appearance. And they're really fond. They tend to be the strongest wizards and also have like the largest undead armies because they specialize often in creating new forms of undead. And then you have your blood dragons, which are the descendants of Aberash, and they are like martial purists. So they're terrible wizards. They have no interest in magic, most of them. There are one or two exceptions, but the vast majority of them don't care about magic. But they are all about being like the best possible warriors they can possibly be.
Gotcha.
And then you got your Strigoi, which the Strigoi, due to a long story, are kind of exiled and banished from hanging out with all the other vampires, and they devolved into horrible ghoul-like creatures. So they are often known as Ghoul Kings, because they have the appearance of like big ghouls, and they tend to hang out with a lot of ghouls.
Oh, that's why they look so
very,
different from the other vampires. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they're very bestial in aspect, and they tend to be the largest, and when it comes to like raw physicality, the most powerful. When it just comes to like sheer raw strength, but they tend to just kind of be like wild animals.
I see.
And then there are the two mysterious bloodlines, which one of them we knew a little bit about, which was the Jade vampires. And the Jade bloodline is in Grand Cathay. Their founder, Harakte, went to Grand Cathay. We know very little about them. We just know that they exist. And in the new Cathay lore, it was confirmed that they're still a thing and that they are still plaguing Grand Cathay to this day. And then the last bloodline does not have an official name, but their founder was Matt Mises, and he went south. So he went into the Southlands, into the jungles of the Southlands, and vanished from history. And we have no idea what his gimmick is. We don't know what his bloodline's called. We don't know what his like proclivities were, but and it's likely he will never be explored because as a concept, he was always very much left open for players to create their own bloodline. So like if you were making an army or you were playing the roleplay game or whatever, and you wanted to make a vampire who like you completely designed them from the ground up and you wanted to give the bloodline all your own special little toys and stuff, then you could use that bloodline and just create your own lore. It was left as a fill-in space.
Okay.
Which they did the exact same thing with 40K, where
I was gonna say with the Space Marines,
you have the two Lost Primarchs, right? So that people can just make their own and be like, oh, I'm one of the Lost Primarchs, so I don't have to follow the rules. I can make something very weird and unique.
I mean, yeah, that's really cool. Like they offer so many different varieties, but also, if you want to do like your own thing, it's all in the role-playing aspect anyways.
I think it's just good game design. Like it's always good to just kind of leave a custom option for people that want to explore that.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of custom, I should definitely at some point try out Daniel's campaign over here. Apparently you can build. It's an
interesting one. There are elements of it that are fun. I really wish that CA would take another whack at it because it's not as good as it could be. Like, because they designed it a little too heavily around just Daniel. Like he himself is very fun, but it's frustrating how much the campaign can struggle when it comes to like your secondary army. Like the second you make an army that's not Daniel, it's very easy to start running into problems because the game wasn't really, or they didn't really design it with the forethought of like that it's supposed to be, because like the thing about it is it's supposed to be the Demons of Campaign or the Demons of Chaos campaign. So it's supposed to be about playing unified Demons of Chaos, and that's not what it is. It's the Daniel party and everything else kind of sucks.
Ah, that's unfortunate. I see.
Yeah. So I hope at some point they'll take another whack at it, and
maybe an update.
But we can only hope. Ah, finally I got him.
Oh, Stroke.
I have sacrificed. Oh no. I sacrificed 700 Skaven so that I could get a new Lord. Because when you play a Tehilwyn campaign, if you sacrifice 700 Skaven, you get access to a unique red-crested Skink Chief character.
Oh, okay.
You get
that's pretty cool.
You get the legendary renown. I can't afford him right now because I have a Slawn Lord running around. But actually, yeah, I can. Just so you can look at him. So he's in Kayaks, which is my little capital.
Kayaks all the way down
It's
south.
on the coastline.
Okay, I see him. Yeah.
And if you look at him, he has a unique trait, which is absolutely fucking bonkers.
Let's see. How can I view any of this? Okay, there we go. Unique traits. Charge reflection.
You see it? No. So when you click on him on the campaign map, if you click on the little magnifying glass for the character details, wait, can you open character details on him?
I cannot.
I don't think you can. Oh, okay. So I'll just read it to you. So he has a trait called Legendary Renown. So it gives him and his entire army 15% extra weapon strength, 10% extra charge bonus, and 10% physical resist.
What? His entire army?
Yeah, he's kind of fucking bonkers in the best way.
This skink is out for blood. Oh my god.
He's beautiful and I love him.
Is that toe?
Oh, is that so?
Is that so? Oh.
Yep.
Oh
there you
my
go.
god. Of course. Oh. I should have realized sooner. Think of like the stupidest way you can pronounce it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I told you. It's like it back in the Warhammer 2, the main character for the Lizardman campaign is this skink priest that you hang out with the whole campaign, and his name is literally "You cannot do that."
What?
But it's like it's spelled in a really goofy way.
Oh, of course. Why'd you go out and dunk on the Lizardman like that?
Or
maybe that's
is dead!
Yes! Let's go, finally.
Good. I have purged Lustria of Skaven. Now I shall prepare to purge it of elves.
What? No, not the high elves.
They are not part of the great plan.
Oh no. I guess that was like the thing about Lizardman, yeah. Like, you know whose side they're not on, but it doesn't necessarily mean they are on your side.
Tehilwyn is always best when you just play him as just full genocide campaign.
Oh man.
Like the elves are useful up until the millisecond that Lord Skrulk is dead. The second Lord Skrulk is dead, it's time to evict.
Oh Jesus, I see. Well,
that's valuable territory. I'm not going to let them have it.
I mean, true. Citadel of Dusk is very juicy looking.
Yeah, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Oxyodal is also down here keeping Zinch off it.
Give me the idea to have Harkin's vampires hire my roleplay pirate party to keep them together. That's funny. What would it be like to see a Black Ark approach from a ship? Seeing a Black Ark approach you as you're on a ship would literally be like seeing a mountain. Like it would literally be like you're out at sea and you see what you think is an island, like a fairly large, tall island. And so your brain would go, oh, that's kind of crazy. Like that there's just this giant island in the middle of the ocean. Like, wow, that's kind of wild. And as you, and then you would notice that it's moving, like it's not holding still and it's getting closer, and you'd go, oh shit, it's not an island. It's something like, you know, the whole incident in the original Star Wars with like that's no moon because of the freaking Death Star.
Yeah.
It's literally that, but you're like, you think it's an island, then it starts getting closer and you go, oh no, it's so much worse. It is so much worse. That is not an island. That is something much larger.
Wait, what are the Tomb Kings doing in Lustria? Huh?
Yeah, there's a Tomb King faction there because back in Warhammer 2, the original start location for Khalida was on the Lustrian coast to just give her like a unique start position. Because the Vortex map, the old Vortex map in Warhammer 2, if I recall correctly, did not have Liberis on it. So like her side of the Southlands wasn't on the map. So they had to put her somewhere. So they stuck her in Lustria to add kind of a different experience. So you had Khalida in Lustria, Grand Hierophant Katep in Nagaroth, then Cetra and Archon the Black in Nehekara. That way there was kind of like a different set of experiences.
I mean, yeah, just to be honest with you, I had never realized that they were there through all the Lustria campaigns I played, because it was always, oh, those cities are Rakarth cities. I guess they...
Yeah,
Rakarth has not been doing well, I suppose, yeah.
Maybe he's just venturing a different direction right now.
Who knows? Read the Tomb King's faction name. They split from the DJ.
A reliable source has told DualShockers that one of the 3 new Total War Warhammer games in development is a Star Wars themed game.
Star Wars themed game? What does that mean exactly?
So they're saying, according to this source, which I'm dubious, they're saying that Creative Assembly is making a Total War Star Wars. Of one of 3 upcoming games, one of which I'm dubious. I feel like I'm curious if that person knows what 40K is, because I feel that it's guaranteed they're working on a Total War 40K right now. But if someone saw that and didn't know what 40K was, they'd be like, oh, it's Star Wars.
Total War Star Wars, hell yeah.
It actually could be Star Wars. I mean, it's not impossible.
I mean, that would be cool too. Yeah.
That would be very interesting if CA went. That would be weird, because that would mean CA would be making like 2 sci-fi properties at the same time. Because I once again feel very fucking confident they're already working on Total War 40,000, which would mean that they would be doing Total War 40,000 and Total War Star Wars simultaneously. Which to me seems very unlikely, because that would be weird. I don't know. That would seem very strange.
I mean, I don't think it would be a good thing to split the team in 2 to work on 2 things.
Well, especially because they're like so similar. Like,
yeah.
2
and releasing them at the same time too.
Games. Grimaldus, yes, I would be happy to do that in later tonight's stream, because that I think we actually have to wrap up here pretty soon.
Oh yeah,
but so not this stream, but I will remind me for tonight's stream when I come back this evening to do the React stream for the Age of Sigmar stuff, and we can do that then. Okay, I actually think that let's go through this intern. And I think this will be a good spot to call it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, just take that, please. Thank you.
How would I envision a Total War 40,000? I have no fucking idea. Like, I have confidence they'll make something fun out of it, but I don't know if it's gonna be like a single planet, or if it's gonna be like a solar system, or if it's just gonna be a couple of planets. Like, there's a whole bunch of different ways they could do it. I mean, they could do it like a planet, and then you're also dealing with like the moons around it, or they could do it like, it just depends. Like, even Dawn of War did it multiple ways, where like there was, one of the Dawn of Wars had you running around on multiple planets, one of the Dawn of Wars had you only on one planet the entire campaign. There's a lot of different ways they could do it. Could even be that like maybe the first game starts with a singular planet, and then if they do a trilogy like they did with Total War Warhammer Fantasy, which I think is very likely, then you know maybe like the second game would expand it so that now you get to play on like a larger situation. There are a lot of different ways they could do it, but that is gonna be where we are wrapping up today's stream.
Yeah. A good time to wrap it up at 1:30 in the morning for me. I feel like we made a lot of progress. 35 turns.
Yep.
Thank goodness VPN gods. Oh,
yeah, this worked so much better. So we will definitely be back next Friday. I guess same time.
Yeah, for sure. We can confirm again. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But anyway, yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you had fun. For those that are watching on my channel and stuff, if you want to go raid somewhere, I'm going to send y'all over to Andy is running Lawhammer on Twitch right now. So I'm going to send y'all over there. So you can check out his stuff, and I'll just spam that link in my chat for anyone that wants to go there.
For anybody in my chat, go and subscribe to Sotek if you haven't already.
If you're watching on Twitch, you get sent automatically. But for those on YouTube, if you want to click on that link and say hi to Andy for me, I'd appreciate it. But good sir, this was fun. Thank you so much for joining me. If y'all haven't, make sure you check out the legit Weebs so you can check out his other content. And subscribe and all that stuff. Please support the people we hang out with. And I will be back at I think 7 p.m. my time for the reaction stream. So that's in almost exactly 6 hours. It's like 6 hours from right now.
And I will not be there at 7 in my time in the morning. I'll react to it later, my dudes.
You don't want to come?
I'm also not a morning person, Sotek.
Yeah, so I'm excited. So yeah, if you got any closing remarks, feel free to go ahead.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one. Later, dudes.
All right. We'll see y'all later.
Bye-bye.